In this empire, newborn baby girls were thrown into a river by their own parents. It was part of a brutal rafting competition, and no matter how much they struggled, no one dared to intervene. The parents simply cheered for them from the riverbank. The reason for this cruelty? The empire's grand mage had prophesied that the prince would die in a great calamity in 10 years. Only a chosen one, a girl who would sacrifice herself, could save him. And this rafting race was for now the only way to find her. From his palace, the emperor lowered his spyglass, his face etched with doubt. "Are you sure one of these useless, crying infants can save my son?" he asked the grand mage. After the grand mage affirmed it, the emperor raised the spyglass again. Suddenly, a small figure in the crowd of bobbing baskets caught his eye. "Well, this little wretch is a bit different." "Your Majesty?" the grand mage asked, surprised. "Could it be that you found the chosen one?" But as he prepared to congratulate the emperor on finding his new princess, the emperor's expression suddenly soured. "We'll see if she's worthy of being a princess of the Ethel Empire." He raised a hand, muttering a spell. A flash of light summoned a colossal dragon. With a single mighty breath, the dragon sent a massive wave crashing through the river, overturning countless tiny boats. Seeing their babies thrown into the water, most parents forgot all about the competition and dove in to save their children. After all, no prize was worth more than their own child. But there were exceptions. Anya's parents were one. They cared only about the race, not about whether she lived or died. Facing the danger, Anya didn't cry. She knew her useless parents couldn't be trusted. So she gripped the side of her little boat with all her might, refusing to be thrown into the water. The emperor watched the entire scene, a faint smile playing on his lips. He was very pleased with this little girl. "Interesting? She's the one." He waved a hand, ordering the dragon to bring her back. A moment later, the dragon snatched her up and carried her to the imperial palace. While she was still dazed from being chosen, the emperor took her from the dragon's claws, held her up by the back of her clothes, and looked at her with disgust. "Little wretch is hideous." Anya's mouth twitched. "You jerk of an emperor, if your eyes are bad, go see a doctor. I'm as beautiful as a fairy, and you have the nerve to call me ugly." The emperor casually tossed Anya to the grand mage with an order. "Raise her for now. If she's useless in 10 years, I'll send her to the afterlife myself. Also, this palace doesn't support freeloaders. Once she turns 3, put her to work." The grand mage holding Anya was in disbelief. His Majesty had always despised women. Any woman who ever got close to him was personally sent to the afterlife, not even sparing the prince's own mother. But this time, he had actually touched the little princess himself. And just like that, Anya inexplicably became the sole princess of the Ethel Empire. She was given the name Anya Jin, sent to the princess's quarters, and assigned 2 maids. The 3 of them were the only females in the entire Ethel palace. The one with short hair and a gentle demeanor was named Shirley, and the other was Catherine. From the moment she arrived, Catherine spent all her time on her makeup, never once treating Anya like a princess. She only fed Anya milk once every 3 days, leaving the baby so hungry her stomach felt like it was stuck to her spine. She'd finally made it to the palace as a princess, only to be abused. Left with no choice, she had to pull out all the stops, crying, screaming, the whole 9 yards. Her performance successfully drew Catherine's attention. With a look of pure annoyance, Catherine picked Anya up and shoved a bottle into her mouth. "Drink! If you don't finish this whole bottle, I'll beat you to death," she hissed, pinching the flesh on Anya's back hard. The pain brought tears to Anya's eyes, but she was helpless. She was just a baby. She couldn't fight back. Thankfully, Shirley reacted quickly, snatching Anya away. "Catherine, how could you? She's the princess!" Catherine scoffed. "She's just some stray they picked up from a village. You really think she's a princess?" Lying in Shirley's arms, Anya studied Catherine. The emperor had reigned for years without a single woman in the palace. But now, suddenly, there were. Setting aside herself, who hadn't even hit puberty, and the sweet but simple Shirley, there was only Catherine with her curves, her waist, and her pretty face. She'd been granted entry into the palace, a privilege even the prince's own mother never had. No wonder she was so bold as to abuse her. She's probably dreaming of seducing the emperor, giving birth to a new prince, and living the high life, Anya thought. Just then, a group of figures passed by the window. Anya knew at once it was the emperor. An idea sparked in her mind. Since Catherine is so eager to climb into the emperor's bed, I might as well give her a little push. She took a deep breath, building up for her ultimate attack. The next second, she let out the loudest, most pitiful wail she could manage. Afraid the emperor might not hear, she even pushed the bottle out of her hands, letting it clatter to the floor. Her efforts paid off. The emperor was drawn over. "Why is the princess crying so loudly? Is this how you take care of her?" The 2 maids were terrified and immediately knelt to beg for mercy. Anya waved her little fists in excitement. "Right on time, you old jerk! No need to ask questions, just grab the bad one." Catherine, thinking fast, immediately threw the blame onto the kind-hearted Shirley. "Shirley, how could you take care of the princess so poorly? You made her cry." Anya was so angry she almost laughed. I've seen shameless people, but this is a new level. The villain is playing the victim. She couldn't let Shirley take the fall. She immediately put on a tear-streaked, pitiful expression and let out a series of soft whimpers, hoping the Emperor would get the hint. Wanting to impress the Emperor, Catherine acted as if she were a natural with children and reached for Anya. This only made Anya wail louder, hoping her dramatic performance would get through to the thick-skulled Emperor. The Emperor snatched Anya up into his arms. "This little wretch is so ugly," he grumbled. But his inner thought was different. "This little one is quite interesting. She was screaming her head off, but the moment she's in my arms, she's so quiet." Anya glared at him. "You big liar! Don't think I can't understand you just because I'm a baby. That look in your eyes clearly says you think I'm a little cute. You men are all the same, saying one thing and thinking another." Seeing the Emperor's gentle expression, Catherine saw her chance. She moved behind him and wrapped her arms around him, pressing her body tightly against his back. "Your Majesty, if you like the princess, I could bear you one of your own." Hearing this, Anya did a dramatic flip in his arms, exposing her bruised back and gesturing wildly. "Look, you old jerk, look! She pinched my delicate, soft skin. It hurts so much." The Emperor's eyes went cold. Anya saw that he'd gotten the message and quickly covered her mouth to hide a smile. "Your ticket's about to get punched, lady. It won't be long now." As expected, the Emperor grabbed Catherine's arm. "You think you're worthy of bearing my child? Guards, drag this shameless woman out. Dismember her and throw the pieces out of the palace." And just like that, Catherine was dragged away by the guards. Even then, she didn't seem to understand what was happening, still believing the Emperor had chosen her for the palace because he loved her. Huddled against the Emperor's chest, Anya picked her nose dismissively. "Silly girl, you're so naive. The old jerk brought you here to take care of me, not to warm his bed." The Emperor turned back, his face full of scorn. Women are truly foolish, useless creatures. But a second later, he was gently wiping Anya's mouth. The contradiction made her roll her eyes. "You're insulting all women while wiping my mouth? Aren't you conflicted at all?" Suddenly, he glared at Shirley. "If you get any improper ideas, I'll have you thrown to the dogs." Anya immediately balled her little fists and thumped him twice in protest. "Shirley is a good person. Don't you dare hurt her, you jerk!" Just as the Emperor looked down at her, her stomach let out an ill-timed grumble. He immediately understood and called Shirley over to feed the little princess. Resigned, Anya started drinking her milk. But just as she was getting into it, the Emperor lifted her up again, bringing her face to face with him. Anya clenched her fists and glared. "What are you doing, you jerk? I'm not done eating." "Don't move," the Emperor said. "I'm healing you." He raised his hand and cast a healing spell. A steady stream of energy flowed toward Anya, and in the next second, it was completely absorbed by her body. Anya herself was a little confused. "Healing? I don't feel anything." The Emperor also looked shocked. "How can this be? The healing magic had no effect?" Unwilling to accept it, he increased the magical energy. Shirley panicked. "The princess only has minor injuries. That much energy could harm her." But in the end, all of it was absorbed by Anya. All she felt was a cool sensation on her back, but the bruises didn't fade at all. The Emperor stared at her back in astonishment. "Interesting?" This terrified the little girl. "Interesting? What does that mean?" "Emperor, that look in your eyes is seriously creeping me out. What are you planning? I'm just a baby." As a 1-year-old princess, all she did was spit on the Emperor's dragon, and she was demoted to a slave. For 3 years, she slept in the woodshed, did the heaviest chores, ate the worst food, and was bullied by the other princesses. One day, 3-year-old Anya was struggling to firewood when a large foot kicked her in the back. She fell hard, and the firewoods in her arms scattered. A girl standing nearby mocked her with a saccharine, sweet voice. "Oh, my apologies. It's your fault for being as scrawny as a bean sprout. My guard didn't see you and accidentally kicked you like a little puppy." The little princess struggled to lift her head. The girl was Jasmine. After Anya had been thrown into the woodshed 3 years ago, the Emperor had adopted 3 more girls. What was most infuriating was that all 3 had their own palaces and countless servants. And the one before her, Princess Jasmine, was the Emperor's absolute favorite. Anya knew she was out of luck. She quickly scrambled to her feet and bowed in apology. "It is my fault for being so small that I confused Sir Gareth. I hope I did not dirty his boot." In her heart, she silently swore that one day, everyone who had bullied her would pay. But even with her groveling, all she got was Jasmine pinning her against a wall and demanding she polish the guard's shoes. All of this was witnessed by the Emperor and the Grand Mage from a tower above. The Grand Mage felt a pang of sympathy for the sensible Princess Jin, but the Emperor's face was a mask of indifference. The weak deserve to be trampled. They aren't worthy of pity. Outwardly, the Grand Mage agreed, but inside he was thinking, this man, always saying the opposite of what he means. He talks so cruelly. But who's been losing sleep over that little girl for the past 3 years, sneaking to her bedside every night to check on her? As if afraid the Grand Mage had seen through him, The emperor quickly offered an explanation. The only reason I watch her is because I'm afraid if she dies, there will be no one to save my son in 7 years. The Grand Mage just smiled without a word. His Majesty was protesting a little too much. Meanwhile, Shirley was trying to protect the little princess, shielding her with her own body. Jasmine ordered her guard to kick her harder. Anya's heart ached. Shirley, get out of the way, just let me clean his shoes or you'll be beaten to death. But Shirley refused. Even if you've lost your title, you are still a princess. How can you clean a guard's shoes? If word gets out, you'll never be able to marry. Seeing their deep bond, Jasmine smiled cruelly. Since you two are so close, I'll just send you both to the afterlife together. She then ordered the guard to use magic to kill them. The guard's hands glowed with a green light, and a giant green serpent materialized, coiling tightly around them both. As it squeezed, Shirley, though in agony, held the little princess tightly in her arms. From the tower, the Grand Mage couldn't watch anymore. He quickly reminded the Emperor beside him that they couldn't let Jasmine know about Princess Jin's ability to absorb magic, or their 3 years of planning would be ruined. But when he turned, the Emperor was gone. The moment he saw the guard use magic, the Emperor had leaped from the tower to save his little princess. He summoned his dragon, which lunged forward and tore the serpent to shreds. The guard instantly disintegrated into dust. Anya stared at the dragon in disbelief. Is the old jerk here to save me? Jasmine was stunned. When she saw the Emperor descend from the sky, she immediately ran to him, playing the victim. There, someone killed Sir Gareth. The Emperor held her in his arms, his voice deceptively gentle. Don't be afraid. Father is here. It was then that Anya understood. Of course he was here for Jasmine. He only saved her because he didn't want anyone else to find out about her magic-absorbing ability. But then Jasmine pushed her luck, asking the Emperor to find Sir Gareth's killer so she could kill them herself for revenge. The Emperor's face instantly darkened. Are you asking me to kill myself? He threw her to the ground. Jasmine, for harming Princess Jin, you should be executed on the spot. However, since the guests from the Cadian Empire will be arriving soon, I will spare your life. But while you may escape death, you won't escape punishment. Guards, bring a servant's uniform for Jasmine. Give her clothes to Princess Jin. Anya was shocked. The Emperor is giving me the clothes of his former favorite princess? Is he trying to get me killed? If the other princesses find out that a little servant like me is wearing Jasmine's clothes, they'll tear me apart. And so the Emperor brought a freshly dressed Anya to the evening banquet. The guests assumed the girl in his arms was Jasmine. Many looked on with envy. Other princesses were brought in by their nannies, but she was carried by the Emperor himself. She truly was his favorite. Facing so many stares for the first time in 3 years, Anya felt a little nervous. Just then, the seated Emperor frowned at Jasmine, who was sitting nearby. Do you think you belong here? Before Jasmine could speak, he raised his hand and cast a spell. Jasmine was flung through the air, landing hard on the floor. Anya watched, dumbfounded. Wasn't Jasmine his favorite? Why was he being so brutal all of a sudden? What shocked her even more was when the Emperor gently placed her in Jasmine's former seat. This seat is more fitting for you, my dear Princess Jin. Everyone was stunned. She's Princess Jin? The one who supposedly sleeps in the woodshed? Wasn't Princess Jasmine the favorite? This is different from what our sources told us. Jasmine, who had been thrown to the floor, glared at Anya with pure hatred. It's all your fault father treated me like this. I'll kill you when I get the chance. Then, the Emperor himself picked up a piece of meat and brought it to Anya's lips. Anya was taken aback. For the past 3 years, he had completely ignored her. Why was he suddenly so gentle? Was this another one of his schemes? The Emperor gently wiped Anya's mouth. Seeing her distracted expression, he asked, What are you thinking about, little one? Snapping back to reality, Anya quickly replied, Father, you must be tired. You don't need to feed me yourself. A servant can do it. The Emperor turned to Jasmine. Jasmine, you will serve Princess Jin her meal. The crowd was shocked again. Princess Jasmine was being made to serve Anya Jin like a common maid. The atmosphere in the room froze as all eyes turned to Anya. She felt incredibly awkward, managing only a stiff, polite smile. Jasmine pathetically tried to plead with her father, but all she got was an unyielding command. She had no choice but to serve Anya, muttering curses under her breath with every spoonful. Eat, eat, I hope you choke to death. Anya finally understood. The Emperor was deliberately painting a target on her back. After this banquet, the line of people wanting her dead would probably stretch from one end of the city to the other. Across the hall, Emperor Caspian of the Cadian Empire watched everything with cold eyes. His mission on this trip was to kill the Ethel Empire's most beloved princess. 3 days prior, his own Grand Mage had, after 3 years of scrying, determined that one of the 4 adopted princesses had the ability to summon ancient magical beasts. The world's last 3 magical beasts were sealed beneath the Cadian palace. If Emperor Kaiser was malicious, he could summon those beasts and destroy the Cadian Empire. For the safety of his empire, they had to kill that girl. Caspian had asked his mage if he could pinpoint which girl it was. Killing all 4 would surely drive the Ethel Empire to war. The mage had guessed that Kaiser would surely treasure such an important girl, so all they had to do was identify his favorite and eliminate her. Their intelligence had pointed to Jasmine, but tonight, Kaiser was deliberately fawning over Anya Jin, trying to make everyone believe she was his favorite in order to protect the real one, Jasmine. Caspian slammed his knife into his sandwich. Does he really think such a clumsy trick can fool me? Princess Jasmine is as good as dead. Just then, Kaiser noticed Caspian's eyes fixed on Jasmine. Seeing his plan had worked, he ordered Jasmine to leave. Jasmine desperately clung to his clothes, begging not to be sent away in front of everyone, but all she received was a single cold word, "Get out." Humiliated, Jasmine ran out of the hall sobbing. The guests began to whisper among themselves. Princess Jasmine was thrown out mid-banquet. This new Princess Jin must be quite formidable. Kaiser's face grew darker as he listened. He began to channel destructive magic into his hand, but a small hand reached out and gently grasped his, stopping the spell. He looked down to see Anya with a pitiful expression. "Father, I suddenly feel unwell. I would like to go back and rest." She didn't want to see the Emperor kill someone at such an important event. It wouldn't hurt his reputation much, but it would make her the target of everyone's hatred. Better to make a strategic retreat. Caspian saw it all. Kaiser has killed countless people in his life, and no one has ever dared to stop him. This girl has some nerve. It seems I'll have to find an opportunity to get rid of her as well, before she grows up to become Kaiser's right hand. Meanwhile, a guard was escorting the little princess from the banquet. Suddenly, a murderous aura emanated from the nearby woods. The guard, Sirius, immediately pushed the princess behind him and cast a spell, sending a flock of crows toward the trees. But they were struck down before they even reached the woods. Knowing this was no ordinary assassin, Sirius told the little princess to stay put. "I'm just going to clean up these annoying bugs," he said before dashing into the trees. A moment later, the sounds of fighting echoed from the woods, making Anya worry for the guard's safety. Just then, Jasmine's voice came from behind her. "I knew you'd be here!" Anya turned just in time to see a hand reaching for her. Jasmine grabbed her by the neck and tackled her to the ground. "Anya Jin, you humiliated me today! I'm going to kill you!" As they struggled, a sharp spike suddenly erupted from the ground behind them. It grew rapidly, piercing straight through Jasmine's back and continuing toward Anya. Just as it was about to hit her, Anya cried out in fear, "What is— Stay away!" But the moment the spike touched Anya, it instantly dissolved. Her natural immunity to magic had saved her. Realizing the little princess's secret was exposed, the Emperor immediately summoned his dragon. The dragon opened its mouth and blasted the spike with freezing magic. With a sharp crack, the spike shattered and vanished. Jasmine coughed up blood and collapsed. Anya looked around frantically for help and saw the Emperor arriving on the scene. "Father!" Anya cried with relief. "You're here to save us? Please look at Princess Jasmine, she's badly hurt." "There's no need," the Emperor said coldly. "She's already dead." With that, he raised a hand and knocked Anya unconscious. Just then, Sirius, having dealt with the assassins, returned. Seeing the scene, he realized he'd fallen for a diversion. He immediately knelt to beg for punishment. The Emperor tossed Anya to him. "It's fine. Now take this little wretch back to the woodshed. Just make sure she doesn't starve. Also, send word that assassins attacked the palace. Princess Jin was gravely injured and is unconscious, and Princess Jasmine was accidentally killed. Make sure Emperor Caspian hears this." Upon receiving the news, Caspian came to offer his condolences before preparing to depart with his people. "Are you really going to let them leave like this?" the Grand Mage asked, confused. The Emperor's face grew dark. "He dares to kill my princess on my own territory. Do you think I'd let him go? He killed one of my princesses, so I'll kill a few of his princes to keep Jasmine company in the afterlife." Late that night, the Emperor once again snuck to the woodshed to check on the little princess. As if sensing his presence, Anya woke up. Seeing her awake, the Emperor tried to cast a sleep spell, but it was completely absorbed by her. He'd forgotten that magic had no effect on her. Anya sat up. "Father, are you here to see me?" The Emperor stubbornly denied it. Anya's head drooped in disappointment. "Of course. Jasmine just died. The Emperor probably hates my guts right now. Why would he come to see me? Besides, if he really cared, why would he make me keep living in a woodshed?" Just then, Shirley, who was sleeping nearby, began to cough violently. When she opened her eyes, she saw Anya looking at her with worry. Shirley reached out and stroked Anya's face. "Princess, I don't think I'm going to make it. You have to take good care of yourself from now on." She then pleaded with the Emperor to let Anya return to her proper chambers and be treated as she deserved. Anya was heartbroken. She immediately fell to her knees before the Emperor, begging him to save Shirley. Seeing him remain unmoved, Anya tugged at his sleeve, her voice cracking. "Father, can't you use your magic to heal her?" The Emperor's expression changed. He flung her away. "Insolent girl, how could my healing magic be used on a commoner?" The force of the shove sent Anya tumbling. Seeing this, the Emperor's heart immediately ached with regret. But even though it hurt, Anya held back her tears and forced herself to stand. She had to be strong. She once again grabbed the corner of his robe, begging him to save Shirley. She believed that if she was just a little more sincere, a little more adorable, she could move the heart of this stone-cold emperor. Anya, desperate to save Shirley, had swallowed her pride and knelt before the emperor, pleading for him to use his healing magic. She was sure that if she was sincere enough, cute enough, she could convince him. The emperor finally relented. While I won't heal her myself, I can find someone who will. With a flick of his wrist, he used teleportation magic to summon the sleeping Grand Mage. Old man, wake up! The Grand Mage woke up confused. What's happened? Why has your majesty summoned me at this hour? When he learned he'd been brought here just to heal a maid, his eyes widened in disbelief. I am a renowned scholar, revered by all. How can I be expected to heal a mere servant? Just then, a small hand grabbed his. Grandpa, you're so respected by everyone. You wouldn't just let someone die, would you? Under Anya's earnest pleas, the Grand Mage finally agreed. But as soon as he began the spell, Shirley protested. Lord Scholar, please stop. A lowly person like me is not worthy of your healing. Be quiet, Shirley, Anya said, not allowing her to speak so humbly. Everyone is born equal. There's no such thing as high or low birth. In my heart, you're the most important person. Just let the grandpa heal you. If you feel you owe him, you can repay him by taking good care of me from now on. I'll find a way to thank him myself. Her words not only moved Shirley to tears, but also captured the Grand Mage's heart. She truly is the chosen one. Her thinking, her poise, her charm. She's nothing like those spoiled, delicate princesses. In a short time, the Grand Mage had not only healed Shirley's injuries, but also strengthened her body, making her resistant to most physical attacks. The little princess beamed and thanked him profusely. But the emperor, standing off to the side, was not pleased. With a cold snort, he turned and left. The Grand Mage hurried after him, endlessly praising how adorable Princess Jin was. But strangely, the emperor said nothing. After walking a good distance, he finally spoke. I helped save that maid too, so why did she only thank you and not me? And she said that maid was the most important person in her heart. Does that mean I rank lower than a common servant to her? Seeing the emperor's darkening mood, the Grand Mage quickly changed the subject. Princess Jin has been in the palace for 3 years now. We brought her here to shield the prince from disaster. Shouldn't we arrange for the two of them to meet and build a bond? With a foundation of childhood friendship, it would seem more natural for the princess to willingly sacrifice herself for him later. The emperor considered this. It made a certain amount of sense. But how should they meet? The Grand Mage suggested an accidental encounter during a picnic. They could stage a small crisis, and at the critical moment, Prince Zane could swoop in for a heroic rescue. A hero saving the damsel in distress never goes out of style. As the Grand Mage got carried away with his own brilliant idea, the emperor cut him off and told him to arrange the meeting for the next day. The next morning, Shirley took Anya to the royal garden for a picnic. Anya was annoyed. I don't get what's wrong with the emperor. Why order me to eat on the lawn? I'm just a servant who sleeps in a woodshed. What does it matter where I eat? Not far away, the Grand Mage stood with the prince under a tree. In 7 years, he explained, you will face a great calamity that may take your life. Only that girl can save you, so you must build a good relationship with her now. The prince looked at the cute girl in the distance. If she saves me, will she be in danger? The Grand Mage didn't hide the truth. The calamity in 7 years is terrible. The girl will have to sacrifice her own life to save you. The prince's expression immediately fell. Just then, a strong wind swept across the lawn, followed by a sudden hailstorm. Shirley quickly shielded the little princess with her body. Anya was baffled. How can it be hailing on such a nice day? She looked up and saw the emperor's dragon hovering in the sky. So, father made it hail? Why? Is he trying to kill me? The Grand Mage urged the prince. Quickly, go save the princess. If you do, she'll be grateful and more willing to sacrifice herself for you later. But the prince loudly refused. He didn't want anyone to die to save him. The emperor grew angrier by the second. Such weakness. With a flick of his wrist, he used magic to pull the little princess over to him. He caught her and brought her before the prince. This is my son Zane. Introduce yourselves. The emperor and the Grand Mage then made an excuse and quickly left the two children to bond. The first meeting was awkward. Anya secretly sized up the prince. He was cute, but he looked unhappy. Maybe she should break the ice. Hi, my name is Anya Jin, she said, holding out a small hand. It's nice to meet you. The prince shoved her hand away. I don't permit you to get so close to me. He pushed her too hard and Anya fell to the ground. The prince immediately looked flustered and wanted to help her up. The little princess suppressed her anger. The emperor likes to hit people and his son is no better. I want to punch him, but I can't. He's the prince. I have to hold it in. Anya smiled and said she was fine, telling him not to worry. She tried to get closer again, but the prince, determined to prevent her from sacrificing herself for him in the future, put on a fierce act. He shoved her away again and ran off, leaving Anya sitting on the ground, completely baffled. This little prince is so mean. The truth was he wanted to be friends, but he was too scared. The prince had been frail since birth, and everyone thought he wouldn't survive. But the emperor refused to give up, using his own magic to sustain his son's life for years. The Grand Mage had prophesied that he would die at age 11. But 3 years ago, he'd suddenly announced that a chosen one could save him. Only today did Zane learn that the price of his salvation was that girl's life. He would rather be a bad person than get close to her. He didn't want anyone to die for him. As the prince was wallowing in his sorrow, Anya caught up to him, her little fists clenched. She tackled him to the ground. "You call me a commoner? What does that make you? Are you so much better? Did you get to choose to be born a prince?" With that, she started punching him. It hurt, but the prince felt like she had a point. What really made him so much better than her? Just then, a cold voice came from behind them. "What are you two doing?" The little princess turned to see the emperor standing there, his face dark. She quickly got up. The emperor walked over and asked the prince if he was okay. The prince snuck a glance at the pouting princess. Then his face turned red as he said he was fine. The emperor knew his son's face always turned red when he lied. But he knelt down anyway and gently healed his son with magic. Anya was stunned. Is this the same cold, ruthless emperor I know? He has a gentle side? The sight of their father-son bond made Anya miss her parents from the 21st century, and her boyfriend Sean, who had been in the car crash with her. She wondered how they were doing. Before she knew it, tears were streaming down her face. A warm hand gently patted her head. "What's wrong? You hit my son and now you're scared?" The little girl panicked. "Oh no, I just beat up the prince of the entire empire. Is the emperor going to punish me?" Thinking fast, she turned on the waterworks, clutching her stomach and crying that it hurt. If I pretend to have a stomach ache, maybe he won't punish me, she thought. The emperor was amused. "You were so tough when you were hitting him. What happened?" But as soon as he spoke, Anya's expression changed. She collapsed to the ground, writhing in real pain. It felt like something inside her was trying to burst out. For a moment, even the emperor was at a loss. The prince, however, noticed something else. Anya's stomach seemed to be getting bigger. He panicked. Did I get her pregnant by hitting her? The emperor immediately used magic to diagnose the problem. But the next second, not only was his magic completely absorbed by the little princess's belly, but her stomach began to visibly swell. Accustomed to relying on magic, the emperor was at a loss. Without his powers, he felt helpless. Just then, a series of squeaks came from inside the princess's belly. The little girl was horrified. "Is it really a baby? I'm only 3. And even with my boyfriend Sean in my past life, the most we ever did was hold hands." As her stomach grew, the pain became unbearable. Anya felt like she was about to give birth and screamed in agony. Right before the emperor's eyes, there was a flash of golden light. Before he could react, a tiny panda cub had appeared. The prince stared in shock. "Father, look! That little girl gave birth to a puppy." The little panda glared fiercely at him and let out a series of squeaks, as if to say, "You're the puppy. Your whole family are puppies." The prince stumbled back in fear. "That puppy is as fierce as its master!" The emperor had already regained his usual cold and ruthless demeanor. He watched as the baby panda quietly crawled up to Anya and licked her cheek. "Interesting. I haven't even taught her magic, yet she's already manifested her own magical familiar. Since her magical talent is so strong, instead of me protecting her until she's 10, it would be better for her to learn how to protect herself." He gave an order. "Starting tomorrow, restore Princess Jin's status. She will study magic alongside Prince Zane." By the time the little princess woke up, it was night. She opened her eyes to see Shirley watching over her. Feeling dizzy and weak, she asked Shirley if she had some incurable disease. She also remembered her stomach getting huge and then giving birth to something. Shirley patted her head reassuringly. "Don't worry, you just passed out from magical exhaustion. And you didn't give birth to something. That was your magical familiar, who was just a little too eager to meet you." She held out the panda cub. "This is him." The little princess stared at the cute panda, confused. "What's a magical familiar?" Shirley patiently explained. "A magical familiar is the physical crystallization of a mage's own magic. Every mage's familiar is unique, but most are animals. For example, Sir Sirius's familiars are crows. That guard of Princess Jasmine's was a snake, and His Majesty's is a dragon. Once a familiar is formed, it grows stronger as its master does. When it's powerful enough, it can protect its master." Anya finally understood. She reached out and stroked the little panda. "So this is a magical familiar. It's so cute. If giving birth to it wasn't so painful, I'd want a whole soccer team of them." A mischievous thought popped into her head. I wonder if the old jerk cried when he gave birth to his dragon? I can't even imagine that stone-cold face twisted in pain. Just then, Shirley gently moved Anya's hand away from the panda. "Princess, you need to drink your medicine first, then you can pet your cute little puppy. Lord Sirius said you won't get better without it." Anya obediently took the bowl of medicine. As she drank, she watched Shirley. Something was off today. Every other word out of her mouth was Lord Sirius. Could it be that those two? From a distance, the Emperor watched everything. The Grand Mage finally understood. So that's why His Majesty had Princess Jin move to this room. It has the perfect vantage point. That little wretch is so useless, the Emperor said, true to form. She nearly killed herself just manifesting a familiar. The Grand Mage indignantly defended Anya. The princess figured out how to summon her familiar without any instruction. She is a peerless genius. Inside, he was grumbling. Your Majesty is so powerful, but I don't recall you summoning your familiar at age 3. Princess Jin is the truly amazing one. The arrogant Emperor would never admit the little princess was a genius. She's far from a genius, he snorted, but the slight smile on his lips betrayed him. The Grand Mage watched the Emperor walk away, muttering, always saying the opposite of what he means. He's clearly so proud, but he has to act cold. He sighed. It had been so long he'd almost forgotten that His Majesty was once a smiling child. But after that incident, he never smiled again. He became a bloodthirsty demon, killing any woman who tried to get close, not even sparing Prince Zane's mother. But since the little princess arrived, His Majesty seemed a little less cold. She had a magical quality. Her smile could warm anyone's heart. The next day, Anya attended magic class for the first time, along with the other adopted princesses. She looked around curiously. The others seemed normal, but the blindfolded girl, Maeve, gave her a strange, indefinable feeling. Footsteps approached. It was their instructor, Professor Icarus. The Icarus family had been the imperial family's magic tutors for generations, which had instilled in him a natural sense of superiority. In his eyes, teaching anyone other than the prince was a disgrace. When he saw that the new princess was another low-born adoptee, he sneered and immediately decided to put her in her place. Don't you know pets aren't allowed in class? It's so noisy. Without giving Anya a chance to explain, he cast a spell summoning a large snake. To everyone's horror, it lunged forward and swallowed the little panda whole. Anya couldn't believe it. The panda she had suffered so much to bring into the world was just eaten. Why did you kill my familiar? She screamed. And even if it was a pet, what kind of teacher just kills a student's pet? Icarus felt no remorse. How old are you? You think you can have a familiar? A commoner is a commoner. You can't even lie properly. Meanwhile, in the hallway, the Emperor was walking with a new teacher. He ordered the new teacher to train the children to become intermediate mages within a year, or he'd dock 10 years of his salary. The new teacher could only manage a pained smile. As they reached the classroom door, they heard Icarus's voice. I was personally appointed by His Majesty as the prince's tutor. In here, my word is law. I said no pets, so no pets. And do you know that no matter how I punish you, His Majesty won't blame me? Outside, the Emperor's face grew darker and darker. The new teacher was about to go in, but the Emperor stopped him. Not yet. Let's see what's happening. The two of them began to watch through the window, just like high school principals peeking in on a class. Inside, the injured prince stood protectively in front of the little princess, glaring at Icarus. A frightened princess, Celeste, sat on the floor crying, but the blindfolded Maeve was perfectly calm. Now that you're done fighting, can we please continue class? Icarus, on the other hand, was a mess, lying pathetically on the floor. The new teacher was baffled. The Icarus family was known for producing elites. How could this one be so pathetic? And he was injured. Could the children have done it? It seemed impossible. How could they have the power to injure an adult mage? Small smile played on the Emperor's lips. Interesting. He walked into the classroom. Icarus, who injured you? Faced with the Emperor's questioning, Anya felt a pang of fear. Even though Zane was the prince, he would surely be punished for attacking a teacher. It was her fault, after all. As she was debating whether to cover for him, Icarus pointed a trembling finger at her. Your Majesty, it was Princess Jin who injured me. In Icarus's mind, it was simpler this way. He couldn't possibly tattle on the prince to the Emperor. Besides, the prince only went berserk because of this little brat, so blaming her felt perfectly justified. The Emperor feigned surprise and stared at the little princess. Anya Jin, did you injure Professor Icarus? Are you aware that he is not only Zane's teacher, but also the son of my own former mentor? Seeing the prince remain silent with his head down, Anya had no choice but to take the fall. She admitted she had hit the professor because he had eaten her familiar, and she'd lost her temper. The Emperor crossed his arms, skeptical. A 3-year-old child has the power to injure Professor Icarus like this? Anya nervously fiddled with her fingers and squeaked, Yes! This old jerk is definitely playing dumb, she thought. He knows exactly what I'm capable of. I just hope he drops it and moves on. In truth, the Emperor had seen everything. He was testing his son, but Zane just stood there, avoiding his gaze, showing no courage at all. How could he entrust the Empire to him in the future? The Emperor was deeply disappointed. Perhaps he needed to choose a new heir. Suddenly, he pointed at Icarus. Since you claim you hit him, then do it again, right in front of me. Icarus nearly coughed up a lung. Your Majesty, are you serious? Anya was just as stunned. Is he crazy? Did he hit his head on the way in? Just then, the prince finally spoke up. Father, please don't trouble her. It was all my doing. The prince's confession finally eased the tension on the emperor's face. It was a little late, but at least he had spoken up. He was salvageable. But it wasn't enough. The emperor turned his attention back to Anya. "Anya Jin, show me how you hit Icarus, or I'll have you executed." Anya figured she was dead either way, and this teacher had killed her panda. She might as well take him down with her. Steeling herself, she charged at him, swinging her little fists and pummeling him. "This is how I did it," she yelled, demonstrating for the emperor. Her punches landed squarely, making Icarus spit and sputter, but he didn't dare fight back in front of the emperor. How can a 3-year-old hit so hard, he wondered. Could her magic really have awakened? The public humiliation from this low-born brat was too much. He couldn't take it. Icarus secretly cast a spell, summoning a small snake that darted toward the little princess. The sudden appearance of the snake startled Anya, and she froze. Just as it was about to bite her, the prince jumped in front of her, grabbing the snake by its neck. "I'm the one who hit you," he shouted at Icarus. "Don't you dare hurt her." The next second, the small snake transformed into a giant python coiling around the prince. "Anya, run!" he cried out. Anya wasn't afraid of magic, but to play her part, she ran to the emperor, crying. She grabbed onto his boot, tears streaming down her face. "Father, save the prince!" Her performance was truly heartbreaking. Of course, the emperor wasn't about to let anyone harm his son. He cast a freezing spell, turning the python into an ice sculpture. Anya watched in awe. "He's so powerful. When will I be that strong? Then no one would dare bully me or Shirley ever again." With a loud crack, the python shattered into a million pieces. Anya rushed over to the prince, asking anxiously if he was all right, though his attempt to be a hero was a bit reckless. She had to admit he looked pretty cool standing up for her. The hero saves the damsel cliché was old, but sometimes it really worked. Meanwhile, Icarus was kneeling on the floor, begging for mercy, though inwardly he wasn't worried. His family had been powerful for nearly 1,000 years. Even though he had hurt the prince, the emperor probably wouldn't punish him too severely. Anya glared at him, hoping the emperor would get rid of this creep for good. To her surprise, the emperor didn't kill him. He simply dismissed him as the prince's tutor and had him thrown out. Anya was confused. The old jerk didn't kill him? I guess Icarus's family must be a big deal. As Icarus was thrown out, he shakily got to his feet, a vicious look in his eyes. "Kaiser, you humiliated me and stripped me of my position. You will regret this." The new teacher was just thinking how merciful the emperor was when he noticed a ruby on Icarus's necklace, an emblem of the Cadian royal family. He finally understood why the emperor had hired him. Icarus must have been a traitor all along. The only question was whether it was just him or his entire family. The prince had been gravely injured protecting the little princess. He knelt on the floor, coughing up blood, sending the emperor and his retinue into a panic. Even Princess Celeste, who had been crying in fear, stopped and rushed past Anya to Zane's side. As the emperor lifted the prince into his arms, a small rabbit, the prince's familiar, peeked out from his clothes. It had been trying to protect its master, but one glare from the emperor sent it into a dead faint, foaming at the mouth. The new teacher was speechless. That fluffy little rabbit is the prince's familiar? It's so weak. How will it ever protect him? It seems His Majesty has another thing to worry about. That evening, Anya and Shirley went to visit the prince. From down the hall, they could hear his coughing. "Is he badly hurt?" Anya asked Shirley worriedly. "It sounds like he's coughing up a lung." Shirley knelt down and stroked Anya's head. "The prince has been frail since birth, and now he's injured from saving you. From now on, you have to be nice to him. No more hitting." Anya could only offer an awkward smile. "Shirley, you're making me sound like some kind of abusive husband." Inside the prince's chambers, the royal healer Loki was treating him. Anya walked over and saw the prince clutching his mouth, coughing uncontrollably. He even coughed up a bloody tooth. Anya was alarmed. He's that badly hurt, he's losing teeth. But the emperor seemed used to it. He wiped the blood from his son's mouth and said gently, "Don't worry. No matter how many teeth you lose, Father can use magic to grow them back for you." Anya was floored. The emperor means he loses teeth often. Something clicked in her mind. She walked over to the prince and gently tilted his chin up. Pale face, listlessness, bruising under the skin, coughing up blood, losing teeth. The symptoms were all too familiar. But the next second, she felt several pairs of eyes staring daggers at her. She turned to see the emperor frowning and Loki looking annoyed. "The princess is examining the prince so closely," Loki sneered. "Has she discovered something? Where did this brat come from?" he thought. "She's interfering with my work. Why hasn't His Majesty had her executed?" Anya calmly bowed to Loki. "Grandpa, I'd like to try treating Prince Zane. Would that be all right?" As a transmigrator from the modern world, Anya was almost certain the prince had scurvy. All he needed was more vitamin C. But she was only 3 years old. No one would believe her if she just said it. She could only hope they'd let her try. Loki was so angry he trembled. "Where did you come from, you little stray? How dare you speak to me with such disrespect?" "Your Majesty, I demand you execute this impudent girl at once, or I cannot continue treating the prince." The emperor didn't believe her either and pulled her away. "Show some respect. This is the top magical healer in the empire. He hasn't been able to cure him in 3 years. What could a 3-year-old possibly know?" Undeterred, Anya ran back. She flattered Loki, saying he must be very powerful, before posing a question. "But is it possible that the prince's illness has nothing to do with magic?" Loki was furious. "Nonsense! There is nothing magic cannot solve. Besides, he used a combination of magic and ancient medicine. How dare this girl question his skills? It was outrageous. Why hasn't the emperor killed her yet?" Anya quickly agreed that magic was powerful, but she pointed out that, according to historical texts, humans had only possessed magic for about 10,000 years. Before that, people had many ways to treat illnesses, like dietary therapy and psychological treatments, which were tailored to the specific ailment. "So I believe what Prince Zane needs may not be a magical cure. What do you think, Grandpa Loki?" Loki was stunned into silence. Did those words really come from a 3-year-old? "When I was 3, all I knew was how to play with mud." The emperor was also shocked. "Those history books are so boring even I have to force myself to read them. How did she memorize them at such a young age? This child is interesting." And so the emperor decided to let her try. "But if the prince's condition doesn't improve within a month, I will not be lenient with you." Loki was horrified and fell to his knees. "Your Majesty, please reconsider. The prince's health is no trivial matter." Just then, a quiet voice came from the bed. "I believe her." The prince slowly walked over to Anya. "You'll cure me, right?" Anya froze for a second, then nodded firmly. "Your Highness, it's a bit late tonight. I'll start your treatment tomorrow, if that's all right." Loki sighed, looking at the 2 children who had made up their own minds. "What am I to do with these kids?" Shirley was terrified. She spent the night packing their bags, ready to risk her life to sneak the little princess out of the palace. "Don't worry," Anya told her. "I can definitely cure the prince." Shirley knew the princess she'd raised was brilliant, but this was the prince they were talking about. Even someone as skilled as Loki had failed. How could a girl who had only read books with no practical experience possibly succeed? "These past 3 years have been hard," Anya said, comforting her. "If I cure the prince, we can have a good life. I don't want to go back to being bullied, and I don't want you to be hurt because of me." Tears welled up in Shirley's eyes, and the 2 hugged each other tightly. All of this was observed by the emperor and the Grand Mage. "If the prince's condition doesn't improve in a month?" The Grand Mage asked. "Will you really kill Princess Jin?" "No," the emperor replied without hesitation. The Grand Mage was surprised, thinking for a moment that His Majesty had finally realized he was deeply fond of the little princess. But then the emperor added, "In 7 years, she still has to sacrifice herself to save Zane. Therefore, she cannot die yet." The Grand Mage was speechless. "Your logic is flawless, Your Majesty. I can't even argue." Just then, the emperor asked, "That little wretch said she's read many books. Why do I know nothing of this?" The Grand Mage explained. "For the past 3 years, you've gone to her bedside every night to check on her. She's known about it for a long time. To avoid you, she started coming to me every morning to learn how to read. In these 3 years, she's read every book in my personal library." The emperor was stunned, but there was more. The little princess could talk from the moment she was born. 3 years ago, when she was first sent to the woodshed, the Grand Mage had snuck in to see her. She had caught him and demanded he teach her to read, calling it gaining knowledge. Later, she started coming to his library on her own. She had a photographic memory, a book that took the Grand Mage half a month to read. She could finish in a day. By now, the emperor was numb with shock. An interesting little wretch indeed. "My daughter is so brilliant, and I, her father, knew nothing about it." Meanwhile, in the Cadian Empire, Emperor Caspian kicked his son to the ground. "You useless waste!" he roared. "In the Ethel Empire, Anya, Jin, and Zane manifested their familiars at 3 and 4, and you're 7 and still haven't managed it." Prince Kalen endured the pain, slowly picking himself up and kneeling. "I am useless. I have disappointed you, father." This only angered Caspian more. He summoned a 9-tailed fox with a flash of magic. "Get out of my sight," he bellowed. Kalen silently rose and left. He was the 17th prince of the Cadian Empire, and he was also a transmigrator. A car crash had sent him and Anya to this magical world. When he first arrived, the original owner of his body couldn't handle the immense magic within, and had lost control, killing his own mother. The soul of the original Kalen had shattered, allowing him to take over easily. When Caspian found the carnage, he wasn't angry. Instead, he saw potential. So much power at such a young age. He will surely unite the world one day. But years of failing to manifest a familiar had led to constant beatings. What no one knew was that Kalen had actually manifested his familiar at age 3. He just hadn't told anyone. His familiar was his own adult self. He kept it a secret because he didn't want to become a puppet for his tyrannical father. For now, it was better to hide his true strength. But he was intrigued to hear that others had also manifested familiars at such a young age. He decided to sneak out of the palace and see these prodigies for himself. However, the moment he breached the magical barrier over the Ethel Palace, the Emperor immediately sensed the intrusion. Instead of attacking, he sent a telepathic message, summoning the intruder to him. Kalen was surprised he'd been discovered so quickly, but he had no choice but to go. When the Emperor saw that the intruder was just a boy, he asked him if he had a death wish. Kalen, of course, said no, but the Emperor ignored him. "Since you want to die, I'll make it quick." He summoned his dragon and attacked. Kalen barely dodged the strike. Realizing he was outmatched, he used the chaos to escape. The Emperor looked at the blood on the ground and smiled faintly. This young man is interesting. In a hidden corner of the palace, Kalen coughed up blood. His magic depleted, he reverted to his child form. He couldn't believe how powerful the Ethel Emperor was. Caspian was a fool for even thinking he could kill him, but that wasn't important right now. He needed to find a place to hide. He didn't notice the small spectral dragon claw latched onto his boot. The 3-year-old princess, trying to use a toilet for the first time in her little life, was nearly crushed by a boy falling from the sky. She was so shocked she couldn't move. Just as he was about to hit her, the boy used the last of his magic to create a shield, protecting her at the last second. Anya stared at the boy, who was now sitting nearby, grimacing in pain. Who is he, she wondered. I didn't know Prince Zane had a brother. But before she could ask, there was a loud crack. She turned to see her toilet, her beautiful porcelain toilet, shattered and leaking everywhere. Anya's heart broke. That was one of only 2 toilets in the entire palace. Most mages didn't need them. A simple cleansing spell was all it took. My toilet! You died a tragic death! Kalen was dumbfounded. What is wrong with this girl? She almost died and she's crying over a toilet? For safety, he decided to get the wailing girl out of there. Just then, the dragon claw on his boot tightened. He realized he was being tracked. The Emperor would be here soon. He had to get it off. Anya instantly recognized the claw as belonging to the Emperor's dragon. That meant this boy was a bad guy, and the Emperor wanted to kill him. What are you still doing here? Kalen suddenly snapped at her. Get out of here before I decide to silence you permanently. He was actually worried the Emperor would arrive and hurt her. She looked like an ordinary person with no magic. He just wanted to scare her away, since Kaiser had a habit of killing any female who got too close. Seeing Anya just stand there, Kalen conjured another spell to frighten her. He didn't know she was immune to magic. Though the spell didn't affect her, she pretended to be scared, wanting to see if this boy was really a bad person. A few steps later, she staged a dramatic trip and fall. As she went down, her hand brushed against the dragon claw. The irremovable tracking spell instantly dissolved into energy and was absorbed by her. Anya understood immediately. I can only absorb the Emperor's magic. This boy's magic doesn't affect me, which means he doesn't mean me any harm. He's not a bad guy. Kalen stared at the vanished claw, stunned. It must be a coincidence. This girl doesn't even know basic magic. How could she absorb something like that? My fire spell must have burned it off. As he was lost in thought, Anya's voice piped up. Hey, what are you staring at? Help me up! I fell and it hurts! Kalen snapped out of it and helped her to her feet. Just then, a voice called out from the distance. Princess! Are you there? Please answer me. It was Shirley. She had woken up to find Anya gone and had brought Sir Sirius to help her search. She was on the verge of tears with worry. Sirius gently reassured her that the palace wasn't that big and they would find her. Staring at the handsome and kind Sir Sirius, Shirley froze, blushing. Hiding behind a corner, Anya watched them and grinned. My silly Shirley is about to be stolen away by a handsome man. Not wanting to worry them any longer, she stepped out. Shirley rushed over and hugged her tightly. Anya comforted her, explaining that she had just gone to the bathroom and didn't want to wake her. Sirius smiled at the touching scene, but then he sensed something was wrong. He whirled around and stared at the corner. Who's there? He shouted. Anya's heart leaped. Oh no, is he going to find the boy? The person who stepped out was Icarus. Sirius frowned. What are you doing here so late? Icarus scratched his head. His Majesty just dismissed me, and I was feeling down, so I went for a walk. I didn't mean to interrupt your date. Shirley's face turned bright red, and she was about to deny it, when Sirius cast a spell without a word. With a loud bang, the wall Icarus was leaning against exploded. Anya and Shirley stared at the rubble, their hearts sinking in unison. Now our toilet is truly gone for good. Icarus, however, was filled with rage. How dare he? I was the prince's tutor. This Sirius is just a mere guard, and he dares to attack me. The Ethel Empire is no longer worthy of my loyalty. Just moments after, the Emperor and the Grand Mage, in pursuit of the intruder, had run into the little princess and her group. Seeing the lingering tear tracks on her cheeks, the Emperor's face darkened. He snatched her up, holding her in front of him. What happened? He demanded. And why are you out here so late? Why were you crying? There was no way the little princess was going to tell the jerk Emperor that she was crying because she had to use the bathroom and her toilet had just been blown up. It was just too embarrassing. So she quickly made something up, explaining that she was just bored and taking a walk and that she'd gotten some sand in her eye. The Emperor obviously didn't buy that ridiculous story. She was clearly crying her heart out but refused to tell the truth. Was she protecting that young man? Seeing the Emperor's expression turn sour, the princess figured he'd already guessed she was the one who helped the boy. Her only option was to turn on the cuteness full blast and hope she could charm her way out of it. The Emperor couldn't believe Anya was lying so blatantly to his face for that intruder, but he couldn't exactly call her out on it, so he took his anger out on the others. "And why are the rest of you here?" Icarus, trembling, said he was just passing by. Sirius calmly stated the same. This infuriated the Emperor. "What a coincidence, all of you just passing by." He tossed the little princess to Sirius. "From now on, no one is allowed out for a midnight stroll without my permission." With that, he turned and stomped off. The Grand Mage sighed, his old bones protesting as he hurried to catch up. Once they reached the garden, he finally asked, "Your Majesty, are you still suspecting that Princess Jin let that young man go?" That was the wrong thing to say. The Emperor's anger flared up again. What reason could she possibly have to lie to me for an intruder? But instead of placating him, the Grand Mage added fuel to the fire. "Your Majesty, you yourself said that young man was quite handsome. Little girls have a soft spot for good-looking men. It's perfectly reasonable, isn't it?" Pang of jealousy shot through the Emperor. He snorted. "Compared to me or even to Sirius, that man isn't even a tenth as handsome." The Grand Mage was speechless. "You're the handsome one, whatever you say is right," he thought. But he still had to calm the Emperor down. An idea suddenly struck him. "Your Majesty, could it be possible that the young man threatened Princess Jin? He's quite powerful, after all. He broke through your barrier all on his own. Princess Jin is only a 3-year-old child. She couldn't possibly fight him. She must have been threatened." The Emperor considered this. It made sense. His concern over who was more handsome vanished. Someone in this world dared to treat his daughter that way? They had a death wish. He immediately decided to have John train Princess Jin and the others to become ultimate mages within 6 months, or he'd dock 20 years of his salary. He also assigned Sirius to be Princess Jin's personal bodyguard. If anything happened to her, it would be on his head. The next morning, the little princess brought an apple to the prince's quarters, ready to start his treatment. But when she walked in, she saw the prince drinking a bowl of green, poison-like liquid that smelled foul enough to wake the dead. She immediately dropped the apple and rushed over, snatching the bowl from his hands. "Drinking this stuff would kill you, or at least leave you half dead." Loki slammed his hand on the table. "Princess Jin, what is the meaning of this?" The princess quickly explained, "Grandpa, don't be angry. I don't mean any harm, I just wanted to ask what this green stuff is. It looks terrifying." Loki could see she was afraid he was trying to poison the prince. He sighed and took the bowl back. "This is the heart's blood of a rare dragon whelp. The prince is weak and can only consume liquids, but he has trouble digesting ordinary food. Only the heart's blood of a dragon whelp can be absorbed by his body. It's been this way for years." The little princess meekly asked, "Can he eat apples?" Loki was aghast. How could the noble Prince Zane eat such a low-class, non-nutritious thing? "Are apples low-class?" she asked, confused. "If not apples, what about other fruits? Dragon fruit, kiwi, bananas, grapes? Can't he eat any of them?" Loki vehemently refused. "Such inferior things are not fit for our prince to eat, and he wouldn't eat them anyway." Anya finally understood why Prince Zane was so sick. He had grown up without ever consuming any vitamin C. If it weren't for the jerk Emperor's magic and all these high-grade medicinal herbs, the prince would have been long dead. She decided she had to find a way to get him to eat fruit, or the complications from scurvy would make his life a living hell. But as she was trying to come up with a plan, a guard burst in. "Princess Jin, it's terrible. You have to come back to your palace. Miss Shirley is fighting with someone." Inside the prince's palace, Shirley was desperately clinging to the little princess's mother, trying to stop her from leaving. The mother, holding a priceless vase in her hand, kicked at Shirley with her foot. "My daughter is His Majesty's favorite, Princess Jin. Who are you, a mere maid, to stop me?" Her husband, busy prying diamonds off the wall, chimed in. "That's right. We're just taking things that belong to our own daughter. What's wrong with that?" The shrewish mother then gave Shirley a hard kick, sending her sprawling, and yelled at her 3 sons, "What are you standing around for? Grab anything valuable. Your sister's things are your things." The 2 older sons immediately started hauling things away. Only the 3rd son stood frozen, trembling. He felt it wasn't right to take things without his sister's permission. Shirley stared in disbelief. She couldn't understand how such a sweet and sensible little princess could have parents who acted like common thieves. Seeing the room being emptied, she panicked and tried to stop them again. "This may be the princess's room, but these things belong to Prince Zane. Are you trying to get the princess killed?" The father kicked her to the ground. "You idiot! Anya is living in the prince's palace at such a young age. In another 10 years, she'll belong to the prince too. By then, the emperor and I will be family. What's this talk about being killed?" He then noticed how resilient Shirley was. "When Anya gets here," he thought, "I'll have her give me this girl to take home as a worker." Just then, an angry voice rang out, "Stop right there!" The little princess arrived with the prince and Loki. The mother's face immediately lit up with a familiar-looking smile. "You must be Anya. You've grown so much in 3 years, and this handsome young man must be the prince, I presume." She then made a show of patting the little princess on the head. Seeing the ransacked room and Shirley on the floor, Anya flew into a rage and slapped her hand away. "Who's Anya? I don't know you. Get out." The mother's face darkened, and she instinctively raised her hand to strike. "What did you just say, you ungrateful brat?" But she suddenly felt 2 terrifying gazes on her. She looked up to see the prince and Loki staring at her with murderous intent. She quickly forced a laugh. "Anya, dear, we're your mother and father. You can't speak to us so rudely." "I'm not kidding," Anya shouted at them. "And I don't consider you my parents. Get out of here right now." Seeing the little princess's furrowed brow and determined eyes, the prince's heart ached for her. Her parents hadn't visited her once in 3 years, and now that they had, this was the scene. She must be heartbroken. He took her hand and stepped forward. "Since Princess Jin says she doesn't know you, you should leave." Hearing this, Anya's father kicked Shirley again and strode angrily toward his daughter. "You think you can treat your parents like this just because you're a princess? You dare to tell us to get out? I'll beat you to death." Seeing the man raise his hand to strike her, the prince cried, "Anya, watch out!" But the little princess had no intention of dodging. Seeing Shirley hurt had pushed her past her limit. She clenched her fists, and the magic inside her erupted in a golden aura. She walked toward her deadbeat father, ready to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. He stumbled back in fear, falling to the ground. "You worthless girl, what are you doing? Are you going to hit your own father?" Just then, a cold voice cut through the air. "Who is so bold as to shout in my palace?" The next thing they knew, Anya's father was flying through the air, before crashing hard onto the floor, screaming in agony. Seeing it was the Emperor, the magical aura around the little princess dissipated. The Emperor stared at the family, his face a mask of fury. "When did my palace become infested with such strange vermin?" The 2 older brothers were terrified. "We only took a few of Anya's things. He's not going to kill us, is he?" But the Emperor paid them no mind. He knelt in front of Anya and asked gently, "Tell father what happened. Why are you crying?" Hearing this, the little princess cried even harder. She didn't know what to say. After all, they were her biological parents. The Emperor understood. He stroked her head. "If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. But remember this. My princess does not need to cry when she's been wronged. If you're wronged, you hit back." He then gave an order. "Drag this couple and their 2 sons out and whip them. Do not stop without my permission." Their 2 sons were also whipped until their skin split, screaming for their parents to save them. The 3rd brother couldn't bear to watch. He mustered his courage and walked over to the little princess, forcing a smile as he begged her for mercy. His body trembled as he pleaded with her to spare his parents and 2 brothers. Seeing his brother's smile, so familiar, reminded the little princess of herself. How many times had she been heartbroken and wanted to cry, but forced herself to smile just to get someone to grant her request? Seeing Anya remain unmoved, the 3rd brother fell to his knees. The princess went to him, helped him up, and agreed to let them go. She had no feelings for this family. She wouldn't have cared if they died. But her 3rd brother was different. When Anya had first transmigrated, the woman had been working as a wet nurse for a wealthy family. To save milk for the young masters, she had cruelly refused to breastfeed Anya even once, feeding her flour paste instead when she cried from hunger. She believed a worthless girl like Anya was lucky to get even that. Her 2 older brothers treated Anya's crying as daily entertainment. Only the 3rd brother couldn't stand it and tried to help. He would pretend to be hungry and ask for milk. Though the mother was cruel to Anya, she doted on her sons. In those first few days, Anya had survived on the milk her 3rd brother had tricked their mother into giving her. She would have starved to death otherwise. She would never forget his smile. She couldn't refuse his request now. So she went to the Emperor's side, tugged on his sleeve, and asked him to let her family go. The Emperor looked down at her and asked again, "Are you sure you want to let them go?" Seeing her adorable yet determined expression, he turned his head away. "Do as you wish. They're just a bunch of trash." "Stop," he ordered before leaving without another word. Prince Zane glared at them menacingly. "Father has spared you. Now get out." This commanding presence stunned Loki. The usually gentle little prince was being so assertive today. For a moment, he thought he was seeing the Emperor himself. Then, following the prince's gaze, he understood. It was all for Princess Jin. That explains it, he thought. The moment the Emperor was gone, the parents staggered over to Anya. Instead of feeling any remorse, they berated her. "You have no conscience. We came all this way to visit you and you have us beaten," the mother spat. The little princess felt hurt and angry, but she bit her lip, held back her tears, and forced a smile at her 3rd brother. "They're fine now. You should all go home." Her 3rd brother wiped away her tears, promising that once they left, he would convince their parents never to bother her again. But on the other side of the room, the mother kicked her 2nd son. "What are you standing around for? Hurry up and take the things we gathered. How else are we going to pay for your medical bills?" The father, already picking up a bag, agreed. "That's right. Your heartless sister won't even spare us this little bit of money, will she?" We're old, it doesn't matter, but you boys are young. You can't have scars all over you. How will you get married? Seeing them start to take things again, Shirley moved to stop them, but the little princess held her back. Let them take it. Once they do, there will be no relationship between us anymore. Anya would never acknowledge them as her parents. And so, as the little princess watched, the family left, satisfied with their bags full of stolen goods. After that incident, the princess and the prince trained like they were possessed. The princess wanted to become as powerful as the jerk emperor so no one could bully her or Shirley again. The prince, on the other hand, wanted to become strong enough to protect Princess Jin. Their instructor, John, couldn't take it anymore and tried to get them to rest. But the two kids just trained even harder. John was baffled. What's gotten into them, he wondered. Why are they suddenly so obsessed with getting stronger? He was also worried. They were just little kids. Training at this intensity would surely lead to problems. And then the emperor wouldn't just be docking 20 years of his salary. These kids were impossible to manage. He'd rather be fighting a war. Princess Celeste thought they must have suffered some kind of trauma to be training so frantically. But Princess Maeve was inspired by their determination. Looking at the little dog on Anya's back, she felt a pang of envy. She had thought the familiar was dead, but now she knew that as long as the master was alive, the familiar wouldn't disappear. She was now looking forward to what her own familiar would be. Celeste's surprise, Maeve stood up and joined Anya's frenzied training. She raised a hand and used movement magic, causing a pillar of water to shoot up from a basin. John nodded in approval. He hadn't expected Maeve to be so skilled at such a young age. But her moment of coolness lasted only a few seconds. Her magical energy couldn't keep up, and the water pillar weakened, then collapsed, drenching John from head to toe. The others burst out laughing. Maeve was embarrassed and quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, teacher. Please forgive a blind girl." John used a drying spell to instantly dry his clothes, feeling utterly helpless. These kids are so mischievous. What am I supposed to do? They're all royalty, I can't hit them, and I can't scold them. And I'm supposed to turn them into ultimate mages in 6 months? It's impossible. He was in over his head. Seeing John instantly dry his clothes, the little princess's eyes lit up. She wanted to learn that skill too. If she did, she'd never have to worry about clothes not drying on a rainy day again. Seeing that John wasn't angry, Maeve immediately said she wanted a familiar of her own, just like Princess Jin, and asked him to teach her. John readily agreed and asked the little princess to share how she had summoned her familiar. Anya was confused. "Aren't they born? The first time I gave birth, it really hurt. Then, after Professor Icarus's snake ate it, I thought it was gone for good. But then I gave birth to it again a few days ago. It didn't hurt as much the second time." The others stared at her, speechless. The little princess felt a little self-conscious under their strange gazes. "Did I say something wrong? Aren't familiars born?" To break the awkward silence, John cleared his throat. "Familiars aren't born. They are summoned after you've completed your training. When you've cultivated enough magical energy, your body will convert that energy into a familiar corresponding to your magical affinity. Then, you gather the magic in your body and use your will to guide it out from your palm or fingertips." John then demonstrated, summoning a small lion. The princesses were instantly envious. "Don't be fooled by how cute it is now," he explained. "On the battlefield, it's a lion that can kill 1,000,000 enemies." The little princess was mortified. "So I'm the only one who gives birth to my familiar? And here I was wondering how the jerk emperor gave birth to such a huge dragon. Turns out the joke was on me." In the middle of the night, she had to go to Princess Celeste's room to borrow her toilet, because the one in her woodshed had been blown up by Sirius, and now Celeste's was the only one left in the entire palace. Watching Anya leave, Celeste was puzzled. The princess's magic seems even a little stronger than the prince's. Why won't she learn the basic cleansing spell? Meanwhile, Sirius was reporting to the jerk emperor that spies from other countries had infiltrated the palace. They had been captured, and General John was interrogating them. After a moment's thought, the emperor told him not to kill them after the interrogation, but to send them back to their own countries completely unharmed. Sirius was inwardly shocked. His Majesty's move is ruthless. To be caught as a spy is one thing, but to be sent back completely unharmed? The emperor of that country is going to have a meltdown. Just then, the emperor turned and saw the little princess passing by. He asked Sirius what she was doing out so late. When he learned from Sirius that she had braved the rain to go all the way to Princess Celeste's room just to use the toilet, the emperor was stunned. "Doesn't the prince's palace have a toilet?" "No, it doesn't," Sirius replied. The emperor immediately gave an order. The next day, every single room in the palace was to be equipped with a toilet, and a top-of-the-line one at that. He also told Sirius to inform that old coot John to teach the little princess the cleansing spell within a week, or he'd dock another 10 years of his salary. The next day in class, John awkwardly asked if anyone else didn't know the cleansing spell. After a quick poll, it turned out the little princess was the only one. Anya was mortified. So she really was the only one who didn't know anything. Prince Zane was confused. Princess Jin doesn't know the cleansing spell? How has she been going to the bathroom all this time? Since it's only Princess Jin, I'll teach her privately after class. Today we'll continue learning how to summon familiars. With that, John cast a spell, and with a touch, the prince's and Anya's familiars vanished. He told them to resummon their familiars using the method he had demonstrated the day before, and had Maeve and Celeste try as well. He explained that this training would help improve their control over their magic. Hearing this, Anya was instantly fired up, ready to practice hundreds of times. The prince was the first to start gathering his magic, and with a pop, the little rabbit appeared. John clapped in satisfaction and praised the prince. Now that he could skillfully summon his familiar, the next step was to train its speed. Although the rabbit was gentle and cute, it was a bit weak as a familiar. Its attack power was negligible, and it could barely defend itself. But if they could maximize its agility and speed, even if it couldn't kill other beasts, they wouldn't be able to catch it either. Anya, on the other hand, struggled for a long time but couldn't summon her little dog. John patiently told her not to rush and to take her time. He could sense that her familiar was fierce, and in the future they could train its attack power, which would be formidable in battle. The little princess tried again with all her might, but she was sweating and still couldn't summon it. She started to wonder if she'd have to give birth to it again. Just then, Celeste called out, "Teacher, come look!" John turned and was frozen in place. He never would have imagined that Maeve's familiar would be a crowd control type. In the entire Ethel Empire, with all its talented mages, Sirius was the only other one with that ability. John helped Maeve clear away the magic, praising her powerful familiar and explaining the basics of crowd control types. "Princess Maeve, this butterfly on your hand is your queen. Until you can fully control all the familiars you summon, you must never let this butterfly leave your side. Also, you can give your familiar a name now." Without a second thought, Maeve said, "Since Princess Jin named her familiar Puppy, I'll call mine Little Butterfly." John broke out in a cold sweat. Do all kids these days name things so casually? He wondered. He then marveled at how incredibly talented these children were. They had limitless potential. He himself had been 13 when he summoned his familiar, Sirius was 11, and His Majesty was 10. The three of them were known as the three prodigies of the Ethel Empire. But these kids were only 3 or 4 years old and had already summoned their familiars. It was simply unbelievable. Just then, the little princess's belly started to swell and she cried out in pain, "Professor John, come quick! I think my puppy is about to be born again." John told her not to panic and to try summoning it the way he had taught her. But she tried and still couldn't do it. It looked like she was about to give birth again. Just then, the Jerk Emperor's cold voice came from behind them. "Go eat that little wretch!" The small dragon on his shoulder swooped down toward the little princess. Everyone was terrified, but seeing it was His Majesty, no one dared to intervene. Just as the dragon opened its mouth to bite her, at the last second, the little princess finally summoned her panda. The panda burst out, full of aggression, and with one glare, it froze the little dragon in its tracks. Then it zipped over to the dragon at lightning speed, turning into a kung fu panda and sending the dragon flying hundreds of feet with a single punch. Everyone was stunned. That little dog was so fierce. Even if it was a baby dragon, it was still a dragon. The beaten little dragon scrambled to hide behind the Emperor's legs, looking up at him pitifully. But the Jerk Emperor ignored it and simply asked the little princess, "Have you learned how to summon your familiar now?" Anya finally understood. The Emperor had sent his dragon to eat her just to help her summon her magic. She happily replied, "I've learned." She then asked if he had come looking for her specifically. The Emperor, true to his nature, would never admit it. "There's a child outside your room who wants to see you," he said flatly, before turning to leave with his little dragon. Confused, the little princess returned to her room to find her third brother standing there anxiously, while Shirley was crying in a corner. She knew something was wrong. After being beaten at the palace, her parents had been furious, smashing things at home. Then, unable to contain their anger, they went to Shirley's family's house, not only beating Shirley's parents, but also taking over their home. Hearing this, the little princess's face darkened. She had shown them mercy, but instead of repenting, they had done something so despicable. She was completely done with them now. Seeing Shirley cry, Anya's heart ached. She gently wiped away her tears, feeling guilty for dragging her into this. Shirley tearfully begged the princess to save her parents. Anya wanted to say yes, but she didn't know what to do. Should she go to the Jerk Emperor? She had already begged him to save Shirley once, which had displeased him. Would he help again? She fell into a deep sense of self-loathing. Why was she so weak? She couldn't even protect the people around her. But looking up at Shirley's pleading eyes, the princess made up her mind. She would beg the Jerk Emperor one more time to let her out of the palace so she could teach them a lesson. Just then, the little prince stepped forward. "No!" The princess turned on him, fuming. "Why not? I just want to go out and handle some family matters. Is that not allowed?" The prince quickly explained that wasn't it. In this world, not everyone could practice magic. There was a huge divide between nobles and commoners. It was difficult for commoners to cultivate magic on their own, while nobles found it easier because of their bloodline. Nobles were born with seeds in their blood that allowed them to use magic, and the nobler the blood, the more seeds they had. When the princess first came to the palace, the emperor had performed a ritual to implant these seeds in her blood, which was why she could learn magic so easily. But there was a drawback to this ritual. Until she became an ultimate mage, she couldn't leave the palace or she would die. The little princess's face fell. What was she going to do? If she couldn't leave the palace, she couldn't help Shirley. As she was at a loss, a voice called out, "Don't worry, princess. You still have us." She turned to see Princess Celeste and Princess Maeve. Maeve explained that her maid Lingji could come and go from the palace as she pleased. She could have her go and give the parents a good beating. But then she remembered they were the princess's parents, and quickly corrected herself, saying she could protect Shirley's parents from harm. Celeste took Anya's hand. "I can't do much, but I can let Shirley's parents stay with my family for a while. My father knows some medicine. If they're hurt, he can heal them." Deeply moved, the little princess hugged Celeste tightly. It felt so good to have friends. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's study, Sirius was also reporting on the matter. An investigation had confirmed that Princess Jin's parents had indeed taken over Shirley's family's home and had even broken her father's leg. The Grand Mage trembled with rage. How can such evil people exist? How could someone as lovely as Princess Jin be born into such a family? The jerk Emperor was silent for a moment, then said flatly, "I see." The Grand Mage couldn't stand it. "Aren't you going to do anything to help Princess Jin? Miss Shirley is incredibly important to her." But all he got in response was a grunt from the Emperor. The Grand Mage sighed and decided not to press the matter. But as he waited, he noticed the Emperor had been staring at the same document for over 10 minutes. Is he waiting for the little princess to come and beg him? He wondered. Seeing the sloppy handwriting on the page confirmed his suspicion. The Emperor was clearly distracted, waiting for her. The Grand Mage smiled to himself. When will this boy stop being so stubborn? But it was also nice to see him showing his emotions. It made him seem more human. After Empress Cheryl died, he had been like a walking block of ice for years. If it weren't for the need to protect the Empire and the prince's frail health, everyone worried he might have followed her to the grave. But now, thankfully, heaven had sent Princess Jin, and the Emperor had become much more endearing. Half an hour passed, and the Emperor was about to give up hope. Why hadn't that little wretch come to beg him yet? Sirius, ever perceptive, summoned a crow to check on her. But when the crow reached the prince's palace, it found Anya, with Maeve's help, watching a live stream. On the screen, Shirley and Lingji had arrived at Shirley's house and were warning Anya's parents to get out, or else. Anya's mother spat on the ground dismissively and threatened Lingji. "Who do you think you are? Just a maid. I'll beat you to death." Seeing how unreasonable she was, Lingji used her magic. The next second, Anya's parents looked as if they had seen something terrifying, struggling and screaming for help. From her end, Anya asked Maeve what Lingji had done to scare them so badly. Maeve said she didn't know, but that she could enter their minds to see. With a bit of magic from Maeve, the screen changed, and they saw Anya's parents being struck by lightning. It was an illusion. Anya's eyes sparkled. So cool. I wish I could do that. None of them noticed the crow that had come and gone in the sky above. After hearing the crow's report, Sirius hurried to inform the Emperor. Princess Maeve's seal seems to be weakening. She's sharing her vision with Prince Zane and the others. The jerk Emperor's face changed. This is bad. Meanwhile, Maeve, in an attempt to share her vision with the prince and the others, had overused her magic, causing her eyes to bleed. Thankfully, the jerk Emperor arrived just in time to break the spell, knock her out, and take her for treatment. Before he left, he yelled at the others, "Since you all have so much free time, each of you will run 20 laps around the palace, and the princess will run 30. Everyone was stunned. The little princess was on the verge of tears. Why did she get special treatment? Back in her chambers, the Emperor, with his tough exterior but soft heart, grumbled about Maeve being reckless and suffering the consequences, while gently removing the bandage from her eyes and healing her with magic. John, standing nearby, couldn't help but reflect that it had already been 3 years since they had taken Maeve in. He remembered that rainy night 3 years ago. The Emperor, to protect Anya, had just adopted Celeste and Jasmine. On their way back to the palace, a strange woman, Maeve's current maid, Lingji, had rushed out and called the Emperor by his name, Kaiser. Everyone was shocked. Who was this girl who dared to address His Majesty so informally? Was she suicidal? After confirming her identity, Lingji had knelt before the Emperor. "If you still remember Lady Cheryl, I beg you to come with me and save our Kikyo clan." This made everyone even more nervous. It had been over a year since Empress Cheryl's death, and someone was daring to bring her up in front of His Majesty. They all expected the Emperor to send Lingji away, but to their surprise, he calmly told the Grand Mage and Sirius to take the little princesses back to the palace, while John would go with him. To save time, Lingzi used a teleportation spell, and the 3 of them soon arrived at the Kikyo clan's settlement. But as they got closer, they saw that the villagers were all acting strangely, with dazed, vacant expressions. Lingji told them not to worry, they were just under a low-level illusion. John didn't understand why they didn't just break the spell. But the emperor cut to the chase, asking Lingji, "The caster is a child?" Lingji turned in surprise. "How did you know?" The emperor scanned the area. "Their movements are like those of a nursing infant. Only a child would be bored enough to create such a scene." After Lingji confirmed it, John was astonished. What kind of child could have enough magic to cast an illusion on so many people at once? Lingji then cast a spell on the villagers. For a moment, they returned to normal. But a second later, they were back under the illusion. John's jaw dropped. What was going on? The emperor finally understood why Lingji had sought him out. The child caster was clearly not normal. Soon, Lingji led them to a room where a pregnant woman lay on a bed, also lost in the illusion, giggling foolishly. Lingji pulled back the covers and told the emperor that the one casting the spell was her sister. But it was less a child and more a fetus, because she hadn't been born yet. This revelation once again blew John's mind. The one casting the illusion was an unborn fetus. How insanely powerful was this child? The cold and ruthless jerk emperor was about to refuse to help. But then he remembered a promise he had made to Empress Cheryl. Before she died, she had asked him that if the Kikyo clan was ever in trouble, he would help them for her sake. With that in mind, the emperor began to use his magic to examine the pregnant woman's body. He told Lingji to leave, that he and John would handle it from here. He also instructed her that no matter what she heard, no one was to enter. Seeing Lingji leave without hesitation, John started to panic. "Your Majesty, it's just the two of us men in here with a pregnant woman. Is this really okay?" The emperor ignored his panic and gave him instructions. "In a moment, I will use my magic to induce labor while suppressing the fetus's magic. You will deliver the baby." John nearly choked. He thought he must have misheard. "Your Majesty, are you serious? You want a grown man to deliver a baby?" After the emperor confirmed it, John was on the verge of tears. Why not call Miss Lingji to do it? The jerk emperor's face was grim. "This child is special. If a member of her own clan delivers her, they could be harmed. It has to be you and me. But while the curse on me is suppressed, I can't touch another woman for too long, especially an adult. So it has to be you." Without giving John a chance to refuse, he began to cast the spell to induce labor. John was completely defeated. "You're a real piece of work, Your Majesty. You'll say anything to trick me into delivering a baby. You haven't spoken this many words in a day before. And I'm not even married yet. If word of this gets out, how will I ever find a wife?" When the time was right, the emperor grabbed him and pushed him toward the bed. With no other choice, John, his face beat red, helped deliver the baby, silently lamenting his lost innocence. Outside, Lingji waited anxiously. After a while, she finally heard a baby's cry. With the emperor's permission, she rushed into the room. Seeing the swaddled infant, she was overjoyed. "Is this my sister?" "Don't celebrate just yet," the emperor told her. "This child has a special kind of magic in her. I'm afraid she won't live long. But for Cheryl's sake, I can take her back to the palace, adopt her as my daughter, and protect her." As they were leaving, Lingji ran after them. She was willing to give up her position as the Kikyo clan's holy maiden, just to be able to go with them. She would be a common maid in the palace, just to take care of her sister for the rest of her life. Back in the present, hearing that Maeve was injured, Lingji rushed in. The jerk emperor handed the healed Maeve to her and gave her a warning. "From now on, she is not to use any magic without my permission. And you are not to secretly teach her the Kikyo clan's magic, unless you want to choose between her losing her humanity and becoming a demon, or her body exploding from the power." Lingji held Maeve tightly, sobbing. She was terrified of losing her sister. She swore she would never teach her magic again. All she wanted now was for her sister to grow up safely. Meanwhile, the little princess had to run 30 laps around the palace, and she wasn't allowed to eat until she finished. Thanks to years of living in the woodshed and doing hard labor, the little princess was still full of energy after 10 laps. But the noble Prince Zane had never experienced such hardship. 10 laps felt like a lifetime of walking, leaving him gasping for breath. Princess Celeste was so tired she couldn't even hold her fan and dropped it on the ground. Luckily, the Grand Mage was secretly using healing magic on them from behind, ensuring they wouldn't get injured or die of exhaustion. But he noticed that Prince Zane's physical condition seemed to have improved recently. It seemed Princess Jin's treatment was indeed working. Sirius supervised their run, cheering them on. He was amazed at how good the princess's stamina was. Even an average adult man would collapse after 10 laps around the palace, but she was completely fine and still running fast. Prince Zane and Princess Celeste could barely keep up even with the help of magic, while she, due to her magic-absorbing constitution, was doing it all on her own. This child had limitless potential. Just then, the jerk emperor, having finished treating Maeve, walked over and asked Sirius, "It's been this long, and the three of them still aren't done?" Upon learning that it had taken them 4 hours to run 10 laps, the emperor turned to John and ordered him to spice things up. John was hesitant. "Your Majesty, is that a good idea? They're just children." But one murderous glare from the emperor was enough to make him reluctantly agree. John then summoned a large lion with his magic, and sent it chasing after the little princess and her friends. The three of them were terrified and ran for their lives with the lion hot on their heels. Finally, 2 hours later, the prince and Celeste finished their 20 laps and collapsed on the ground, unwilling to move. And their last 10 laps had been 2 hours faster than their first 10. The Jerk Emperor was satisfied with their performance and rewarded them by making them run 20 laps every morning from now on. The news almost made them pass out again. The Jerk Emperor then turned to Anya Jin. "The others have finished. Why are you still so slow?" The little princess was speechless. Though she was at her limit, she managed to reply that she had to run 30 laps. Seeing that she still had the energy to talk back, the Emperor summoned his dragon to follow her. "Your stamina is much better than theirs. Even with 10 extra laps, or even 30, you should still be faster." He then threatened her. "If you don't speed up, I'll make Shirley run with you." Hearing this, the little princess was instantly filled with determination and sped up. She didn't want Shirley to suffer with her. Shirley had already gone through enough taking care of her all these years. John and the others watched in amazement as Anya sprinted. The little princess is amazing, but they also felt a pang of sympathy for her. The Jerk Emperor's lips curved into a slight smile. "Now that's what a princess of the Ethel Empire should be like. From now on, you will run 40 laps every morning. You can only have breakfast after you're done." He expected her to complain, but to his surprise, she agreed without hesitation. John and the others were shocked. The little princess was so pitiful, and His Majesty was so cruel. She was only a 3-year-old child. What they didn't know was that everything the Jerk Emperor was doing was for the little princess's own good. By building up her stamina from a young age, she would be able to protect herself in the future. Meanwhile, Celeste and Prince Zane were secretly relieved. Compared to the little princess's 40 laps, their 20 didn't seem so bad after all. Exhausted after her run, the little princess returned to her room and quickly fell asleep. Just then, the Jerk Emperor and the Grand Mage suddenly appeared in her room. The Grand Mage cast a sleep spell on Shirley while grumbling. "So now His Majesty is worried about Princess Jin? She's just a little child and you made her run for 7 hours straight." The Emperor would never admit he was worried. "It took her 7 hours to run a mere 40 laps. She's such a little wretch," he said stubbornly. The Grand Mage was speechless. This man, always saying the opposite of what he means. An adult would probably die after running for 7 hours, let alone a 3-year-old. The Jerk Emperor then raised a hand and gently stroked the little princess's cheek. "I look forward to seeing where her limits lie." Meanwhile, in the Cadian Empire, the 18th Prince Kalen Mo, covered in bruises, found Kalen Ming. "4th Prince knows I'm a girl," he said, terrified. "He's hunting me down." This emperor had 18 sons but not a single daughter. It wasn't because his concubines were so skilled at bearing sons, but because he personally killed any daughters at birth. 4 years ago, Emperor Caspian's 18th child was born. He sent Kalen Ming to check the baby's gender, but it turned out to be a girl. Kalen Ming couldn't bear to watch his sister be killed by their father, so he lied, telling Caspian the 18th child was a boy. Because the baby was premature, Caspian only saw a small, frail infant and didn't suspect anything. He spared her life and named her Kalen Mo. And so the sole princess of the Cadian Empire survived under Kalen Ming's protection. But before Kalen Ming could ask how he found out, a mocking voice came from nearby. "18th brother, where are you hiding? Oh wait, I mean 18th sister. Stop playing hide-and-seek with your big brother or I'll tell father you're a girl. Then not only will you die, but your mother and her entire family will die horribly too." Kalen Mo clamped a hand over her mouth, trying not to make a sound. Kalen Ming pulled her into an embrace, comforting her. "Don't be afraid, I'm here. No one will hurt you." Just then, the 4th prince appeared before them. Kalen Mo shrank back into Kalen Ming's arms. The 4th prince savored her fear, beckoning to her with a sickening smile. "18th sister, don't be scared. Come to your 4th brother. Come here like a little puppy. If you and your mother can please me, I won't tell father you're a girl." Kalen Mo was terrified and didn't know what to do. The 4th prince, impatient, strode forward and grabbed her arm, pulling her toward him. But Kalen Ming suddenly intervened, clamping his hand down on the 4th prince's wrist, and warning him not to harm their 18th brother. With his other hand, he secretly gathered his magic, ready to fight. The 4th prince was surprised at first, then his face twisted into a sneer. "Well, if it isn't my genius 17th brother, have you managed to summon your familiar yet that you dare to meddle in your 4th brother's business?" According to that spy from the Ethel Empire, Icarus, their prince and princess summoned their familiars at 3 and 4. "My genius little brother killed his own mother at birth. How is it that you still haven't summoned yours? Have you turned into a useless waste?" He tightened his grip and Kalen Mo cried out in pain. Kalen Ming didn't hesitate. He forcefully pried the 4th prince's hand away and retorted, "Didn't 4th brother only summon his familiar at 17? I may be useless, but I'm sure I'll summon mine before I turn 17. What do you think, 4th brother?" The 4th prince, furious, summoned his familiar, ready to teach this insolent brat a lesson. Kalen Ming stepped back, shielding Kalen Mo behind him. "Are you going to kill your own brother in the palace?" he challenged. "Aren't you afraid father will find out?" The 4th prince was unconcerned. He had already set up a barrier. No one would know. And recently, Kaiser had sent someone to kill 3 of their princes. He decided to kill Kaylin Ming and Kaylin Mo and let Kaiser take the blame again. He then sent his familiar to attack them. Seeing that the 4th prince had already come up with an alibi for him, Kaylin Ming's lips curved into a cold smile. Just what I needed. The next second, he phased through the 4th prince's familiar and appeared right in front of him, moving too fast for him to react. Rest in peace, 4th brother. And remember, it was Emperor Kaiser of the Ethel Empire who killed you. With that, Kaylin Ming thrust his hand through the 4th prince's chest, sending him to the afterlife. As he died, the 4th prince couldn't understand how Kaylin Ming, at only 7 years old, could be so powerful. Kaylin Ming knelt down and gently closed his dead brother's eyes. 4th brother was right. I'm only 7. How could I possibly kill you? It was an assassin from the Ethel Empire. Kaylin Mo, having never seen such a bloody scene, collapsed in shock. 17th brother, you killed 4th brother. What are we going to do? Kaylin Ming took her hand and comforted her. 18th, he didn't deserve to be your brother. If I hadn't killed him today, he would have tormented you and your mother. So you don't need to feel guilty. And from now on, no matter who asks, you must say it was an assassin from the Ethel Empire who killed him. Do you understand? Seeing that she seemed to understand, Kaylin Ming slammed his palm into his own chest. Kaylin Mo was horrified. He clutched his wound and explained, 4th brother was so powerful and was still killed by the enemy. If I'm not injured, how can we convince father and the others? He then shouted, assassins from the Ethel Empire are here again. Someone, save 4th brother. By the time Emperor Caspian arrived, the 4th prince's body was cold. He furiously smashed a nearby vase and pointed at Kaylin Ming. What happened? Why is my Hoi dead? Seeing Kaylin Mo too scared to speak, Kaylin Ming stepped forward. 18th brother and I were playing nearby when we suddenly heard 4th brother scream. When we ran over, he was fighting with a man in black. Kaylin Mo quickly chimed in. The man in black saw us and tried to kill me, but 17th brother bravely fought him off. Otherwise, I might not have survived. Seeing Kaylin Mo's tear-streaked face, Emperor Caspian's anger flared. He kicked her hard. Useless thing, all you know how to do is cry. Kaylin Ming rushed to help her up, secretly healing her with magic. Just then, the Grand Mage stepped forward and questioned Kaylin Ming. Your palace is far from the 4th prince's. Why would he come here in the middle of the night and set up a barrier near your palace? And if the assassin was strong enough to kill the 4th prince, who had already summoned his familiar, how did you manage to fight him off? This series of questions made Emperor Caspian suspicious, and he stared at Kaylin Ming. But Kaylin Ming was unfazed. I don't know why 4th brother came here. As for the barrier, perhaps it was to prevent the assassin from escaping. And as for how I fought him off, Kaylin Ming coughed and spat out some blood, pretending to be weak. Perhaps the assassin was already injured by 4th brother, which is how I was lucky enough to survive. Emperor Caspian clenched his fists. It must be that bastard Kaiser again. But he was also relieved that it was the useless 4th prince who had died. If it had been Kaylin Ming, all the years he had invested in him would have been wasted. He told Kaylin Ming to come with him. He had decided to give him some special training. In 3 months, he would represent the Cadian Empire in the Ultimate Mage exam. Kaylin Ming was surprised. But I don't even have a familiar yet. I'm not qualified to participate. I've already prepared a new familiar for you, Caspian told him. All you need to do is focus on your training. I have only one requirement for you in the Ultimate Mage exam. You must kill Zane and Anya Jin. The Grand Mage was shocked. Your Majesty, are you going to use that method to get the 17th Prince a familiar? That is stealing someone else's. But stealing a familiar was no easy task. It had to be done while the mage was still alive, using a special formation to forcibly sever the spiritual bond between them. The process was excruciatingly painful for the mage, but they had to be kept alive, because if they died, the familiar would disappear. Then, the stolen familiar had to be bonded with its new master, a process that was equally agonizing. Caspian's own nine-tailed fox had been stolen from the previous emperor in the same way. Now, the 17th prince would have to go through the same ordeal, all so he could kill Zane and Anya Jin in the Ultimate Mage exam and get revenge on Kaiser. Meanwhile, back in the Ethel Empire, the little princess woke up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. When she opened the door, she saw the 24-karat gold toilet the jerk emperor had built for her. It was so bright it nearly blinded her. She stared at it, her eyes sparkling. This toilet must be worth a fortune, she thought, almost tempted to steal it and sell it. Just then, music started playing, and the golden toilet began to speak. Welcome, my noble little princess. Please enjoy my services. I will provide you with the most comfortable temperature and environment, as well as carefully analyze the quality of your waste and provide a cleansing rinse. This scared the little princess so badly she nearly wet her diaper. She ran out of the room. I'll let Shirley use that high-tech toilet. She decided to use Celeste's for now and focus on learning the cleansing spell as soon as possible. After using the bathroom, she couldn't fall back asleep, so she decided to practice her magic. Professor John had said her control was poor, so she would make up for it with hard work. She immediately started practicing tirelessly by the pond, unaware that Prince Zayn was watching her. Seeing the prince staring intently at the little princess, Loki urged him to drink his medicine. To his surprise, the prince took the bowl and downed it in one go. Loki was stunned. "What's so interesting over there?" The little prince finished his medicine in one gulp. Usually it took him at least half an hour. Following the prince's gaze, he understood. It was all because of Princess Jin. Just then, the prince suddenly said, "I have something to do, Grandpa Loki. You can go back first. I'll go to bed later." "Don't worry about me." He then waved and ran off toward the little princess. As an experienced man, Loki could see right through Prince Zayn's little crush. But he couldn't blame him. Even he was growing fonder of that little girl, Princess Jin. Suddenly, Icarus appeared behind him. "Sir Loki, don't be fooled by Anya Jin's cute appearance." Icarus's sudden appearance startled Loki. He then listened as Icarus began to slander the little princess, claiming that she had not only beaten him up and gotten him fired, but had also incited the sweet, innocent little prince to attack his own respected teacher. The little prince used to be so well-behaved. He's been like a different person since he met that girl. Do you really think a 3-year-old is capable of all that on her own? Loki was shocked. He hadn't realized the little princess was that kind of person. Seeing that he had taken the bait, Icarus smiled slyly. "Don't worry, sir. I have a plan to get rid of Princess Jin, but I'll need your cooperation." Meanwhile, the Emperor was trapped in a nightmare. He was back in his youth, passed out on the side of a road. A girl named Cheryl had woken him up and asked him about someone. "I have a grudge against him. I'll leave as soon as I kill him. I won't harm any innocents." The Emperor was stunned and instinctively replied, "You want to kill someone in my palace?" Hearing him refer to himself with the royal we, Cheryl realized he was the one she was looking for, the jerk emperor of the Ethel Empire, Kaiser. The Emperor stood up. "By your own admission, the enemy you're looking for is me." Cheryl was disappointed. She should have just killed him when he was unconscious. "I've never met you before," the Emperor said, confused. "What grudge could you have against me?" Cheryl hesitated, not knowing what to say. She picked a flower and carved its image onto his sword, causing the petals to scatter. She then pretended to be angry, crouching down to pick them up. "You have no manners at all. You just destroyed my beautiful flower right after we met. Of course I have a grudge against you." The Emperor was speechless. Did she escape from a mental asylum? But he had no mercy for someone who wanted to kill him. He summoned his dragon, ready to eliminate her. Seeing that he was serious, Cheryl quickly ran away. "No wonder everyone says you're a madman who kills any woman you see. They were right." Once she was at a safe distance, she summoned her own familiar. "Let me see the power of the legendary genius Emperor." Seeing her familiar, the Emperor's face changed. "Phoenix! Who are you? Why is your familiar a phoenix?" That was the familiar of the royal family of the Kalan Empire. But the Kalan Empire had been destroyed long ago. "Who are you?" he demanded, unleashing a barrage of ice shards at her. But Cheryl easily deflected them. Her expression grew somber. "So you know the Kalan Empire was destroyed. But do you know who destroyed it? And who ruined the life of the Kalan Queen?" The Emperor froze. Could there be more to what happened to his mother back then? But before he could ask, Cheryl's phoenix launched a powerful attack and he woke up. With too many questions swirling in his mind, he couldn't get back to sleep. He used his magic to teleport the still sleeping Grand Mage to his room. The Grand Mage was on the verge of tears. "I have to worry about the country during the day, and now you're summoning me like this at night. My life is too hard." But when he opened his eyes and saw the Emperor drenched in sweat, he was startled and immediately launched into a series of worried questions. "Your Majesty, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Are you sick? You're a grown man. You need to learn to take care of yourself. How long do I have to worry about you?" The Emperor frowned. "I just dreamed of Cheryl." The Grand Mage was taken aback. Why is His Majesty suddenly thinking about Empress Cheryl? Is it because of what happened with Princess Maeve's magic? The Emperor didn't elaborate, just waved for the Grand Mage to go for a walk with him. The Grand Mage grumbled as he followed, thinking, "He's a grown man. He can't just call for me every time he has a nightmare. My old bones can't take it. Now that his curse is suppressed, it's time to find him a new empress." As if sensing his thoughts, the Emperor turned and warned him. "I just asked you to go for a walk. Don't get any funny ideas." Just as the Grand Mage was about to protest, they heard a playful shout from nearby. "Bunny, get out of the way! I'm about to unleash my ultimate move! Prince Zayn, take this!" They turned to see the little princess and the prince sparring. With a wave of her hand, the little princess sent a column of water from the pond shooting toward the prince, catching him completely off guard and drenching him. The Emperor and the Grand Mage were alarmed. Prince Zayn was frail, he couldn't afford to get sick. Just as the Grand Mage was about to step in and scold them, the Emperor stopped him. Look at Zayn's expression, he seems used to it. And indeed, the little prince was laughing instead of being angry. "Princess Jin, you're too fierce." The little princess covered her mouth and retorted playfully, "Nonsense, I'm not fierce, I'm powerful." Just then, Sirius walked over, used a drying spell on the little prince, and advised him not to engage in a battle of strength with the little princess, but to use strategy instead. Prince Zayn looked at the smug little princess and said, "Princess Jin, look what's under your feet. This is a surprise I prepared for you." The stone slab under her feet immediately turned into a pile of mud, and the more she struggled, the deeper she sank. Sirius quickly lifted her out. "Princess Jin, you lose this round." On a battlefield, Prince Zayn's trap wouldn't be just a puddle of mud. He then tried to cast a cleaning spell on her, but the magic was absorbed. Sirius was exasperated. Her magic-absorbing ability was something else. But the little princess didn't think she had lost and started protesting indignantly. She jumped out of Sirius's arms and glared at him. "I object. I don't think I lost this round." Just then, the Emperor stepped forward and asked her why she objected. As he spoke, he used his magic to examine the little prince's body, and was surprised to find that although he had been drenched, he wasn't harmed. It seemed his health had indeed improved. Seeing the Emperor examining Prince Zayn, the little princess's heart skipped a beat. "Oh no, did he see me soak the prince? Is he angry?" Though she was nervous, she mustered her courage and argued, "I attacked Prince Zayn with water first. If this were a battlefield, wouldn't that mean I killed him first?" The Emperor was slightly surprised. She had a point. At such a young age, she not only used water magic so skillfully, but was also quite eloquent. It seemed that with a bit more training, she wouldn't die so easily on a battlefield. Seeing the Emperor's approval, the little princess beamed. "So, in the end, I won, right? I really am the best," she thought. "Surely, just you wait. I'll soon be strong enough to protect you on my own." But the Emperor, being his usual self, would never praise her. He was much better at tearing her down. "You kill the enemy first, then fall into their trap and die. You think that's impressive?" The little princess was stunned. He had a point. Her mood plummeted from the highest high to the lowest low. "Okay, I guess I'm still not good enough," she said dejectedly. Just then, the Grand Mage stroked her head and comforted her. "Are you giving up already, Princess Jin?" "The Princess Jin I know is very powerful. How could she be defeated by a small setback?" The little princess was deeply moved. "Do you really think I'm that powerful?" "Princess Jin is the most powerful person I've ever met," the Grand Mage said with a knowing look at the Emperor. "Your Majesty, you can't just criticize a child without praising her. You'll give her depression." The Grand Mage's praise instantly restored the little princess's confidence. She hugged his leg. "Thank you, Grandpa. I'll become even more powerful." The Grand Mage picked her up and whispered in her ear, "Don't mind your father. He was much weaker than you when he was your age." Seeing the two of them so happy together, the Emperor's jealousy flared. "Anya Jin, you are my princess! Look at you! What is this behavior?" He snatched her up. "Your clothes are a mess, you're filthy, and you're harassing the most respected scholar in the Empire. We need some order around here. I've decided you need to be punished." But before the little princess could even beg for mercy, a worried Prince Zayn spoke up for her. "Father, don't blame my sister. I was the one who asked her to practice magic with me." The Emperor was surprised. He used his magic to check Zayn's body again and found that he was indeed much healthier, and his magic had improved significantly. Could it be that this girl really did cure him? The Emperor decided to take the opportunity to back down. He casually dropped the little princess on the ground. "Since Zayn has admitted he started it, then you can both be punished together." Sirius, knowing how terrifying the Emperor's punishments could be, quickly stepped in. "This training was designed by John and me for the prince and princess. If you must punish someone, please let them go and punish us instead." But to their surprise, the Emperor was firm. "No, I must punish them!" Both the prince and the princess were stunned. "This is it. Father is angry. The punishment is going to be horrible." The Grand Mage and Sirius were also alarmed. They had never seen His Majesty so angry. What were they going to do? But the next second, the Emperor cleared his throat. "Then, as punishment, Anya Jin and Zayn will have to sleep with me for the next 2 weeks." Everyone present nearly choked. What kind of bizarre punishment is that? I'd rather run 100 laps. Sleeping with this big, cold jerk Emperor? That's terrifying. I can't do it. But only the Grand Mage understood. The Emperor had been having nightmares and just wanted someone to sleep with him. Back when the Ethel Empire was just a semi-colony, he had nightmares every night. The Grand Mage kept him company during the day, but at night, his only companion was his dragon, Blue. When he couldn't sleep, he'd have Blue sing to him, falling asleep to the sound of its roars. But now he had family again. Zayn and Princess Jin were sensible children. It would be good for them to stay with him for a while. The next day, Sirius took the kids to the Royal Beast Arena. Celeste was confused. "Why aren't we in the classroom today?" Sirius explained that it was His Majesty's orders. They had learned enough theory. From now on, all their classes would be practical. With that, he summoned a crow and had it possess a scarecrow, bringing it to life. Their first lesson was to beat up the scarecrow. The animated scarecrow was incredibly fierce, chasing the prince and princesses all over the arena. Sirius informed them that there were 108 scarecrows in total. and His Majesty had ordered them to defeat all of them before lunch, or they wouldn't get any. With that, Sirius scooped up Shirley and flew away from the danger zone, ready for some alone time. Shirley was worried. Princess Jin had been learning for less than a month. Starting practical combat so soon, she was sure to get hurt. Sirius reassured her. The curriculum was rushed, but they had no choice. Other countries had somehow found out that their prince and princess had summoned familiars at 3 and 4 years old, and their rival, the Cadian Empire, had even invited them to participate in the Ultimate Mage exam in 2.5 months. Shirley didn't understand why His Majesty hadn't refused since the princess was so young. Sirius explained that the Cadian Empire had invited every country. If His Majesty was the only one to refuse, it could cause resentment among the other nations. What he didn't tell her was that although the exam was dangerous, it was nothing compared to what they would face in the future. Once Princess Jin's abilities became known, no emperor would leave her alone. So even though it pained him, His Majesty would rather they start taking risks now. In the arena, a scarecrow was chasing the little princess. Just as it was about to strike, Prince Zane shouted, "Watch out!" The little princess slammed on the brakes, turned and threw her little dog at the scarecrow. "Puppy, get it!" To everyone's surprise, the puppy sent the scarecrow flying 100 meters with a single punch. The little princess then turned to the prince with an innocent look. "What did you say just now?" Prince Zane was speechless. "Sorry, my mistake." After a bit of fighting, the little princess fell into thought. This wasn't working. The scarecrows felt no pain. Even if they knocked them down, they would just get back up and they would only be wasting their energy. Just then, they heard a cry for help. They turned to see Celeste surrounded by a group of scarecrows. The little princess immediately sent her puppy to the rescue, and Prince Zane also ran to help. But to their surprise, the usually timid little rabbit beat them to it, leaping onto a scarecrow's shoulder and tearing off a large chunk of straw. Everyone was stunned. Was this the same gentle little rabbit? Why was it so fierce? Even the puppy, who usually bullied it, was frozen in shock. But this gave the little princess an idea. They couldn't kill the scarecrows, but they could tear them apart. If they were in pieces, they couldn't move. So she ordered her puppy to tear them to shreds. The puppy bared its sharp claws and ripped a scarecrow to pieces with a single swipe. The roles of hunter and prey were suddenly reversed, and the prince and princesses began to frantically chase the scarecrows. Sirius, who had just returned, was dumbfounded. What was going on? They just tore them apart? These scarecrows were imbued with his crow's power. It wasn't much, but to be torn apart so easily? These kids were terrifying. In a short time, they had dealt with all the scarecrows and were cheering in victory. The little princess waved at Sirius. "Sirius, can we go eat now?" Sirius had no choice but to let them go. Just then, John came up behind him. "So? Not easy teaching these kids, is it?" Sirius nodded in agreement. Not easy at all, especially Princess Jin. Her strategic thinking, reaction time, and explosive power are all extraordinary. He then added worriedly, "But even at their age, it will still be difficult for His Majesty to get them to the level of an ultimate mage." John's face fell. If they couldn't become ultimate mages, his 20 years of salary were really gone for good. All of this was witnessed by the Emperor from a distance. The Grand Mage beside him told him not to worry. A few scarecrows were no match for them. These kids are really something, especially Princess Jin. What a clever little girl to think of tearing those scarecrows apart. The jerk Emperor snorted. "That's just street smarts. On a battlefield, she'd still be slaughtered, and I'm not worried about them." The Grand Mage just smiled without saying a word. His Majesty was still so stubborn. If he wasn't worried, why would he skip lunch to come to the Grand Mage's observation tower just to watch the children? After the battle, the 3 kids were enjoying a delicious lunch. The little princess was devouring a chicken leg bigger than her face. Shirley kept telling her to slow down, that it was unladylike for a princess to eat like that. The princess said she couldn't help it, she was starving. And besides, she was still more graceful than her puppy. On the table, the little panda was holding 2 large chicken legs, gnawing on them nonstop. The little princess sighed. "I thought pandas only ate bamboo. Are you sure you're not actually a dog?" She asked Loki, the most senior person present, if it was okay for her puppy to eat like that. Loki told her that besides its ugly table manners, it was fine. Familiars didn't actually need to eat since they were crystallizations of their master's magic and got all their energy from them. But some mages practiced special magic that allowed their familiars to consume food or other things and convert them into energy for their master. For example, some misguided mages would have their familiars eat other mages to absorb their magical energy. Hearing this, the little princess suddenly lost her appetite. "According to Grandpa Loki, all the meat the panda eats will end up on my body? At this rate, I'll be a 400-pound fatty in 6 months." Loki seemed to sense her thoughts and reassured her. "You haven't signed a contract with your familiar. What it eats won't be transferred to your body. Within half a day, the food will be converted into a small amount of magic and then dissipate." But inwardly, Loki was thinking, what kind of stupid questions is this girl asking? Icarus said she would destroy the Ethel Empire. He must be lying. Loki's fierce gaze made the little princess's hair stand on end. She thought he had found out she had been secretly feeding Prince Zane apple juice. Just then, Shirley stroked the princess's head. "Princess, the puppy is just a familiar. No one expects a familiar to have manners, but you are a princess. You could learn from Princess Celeste what it means to be a lady." Celeste smiled. "Miss Shirley, don't worry. I think Princess Jin is very cute just the way she is." Even Prince Zane, who was drinking his medicine, agreed. Just then, he stood up, walked over to the little princess, and gently wiped the food from the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief. Celeste was stunned. She hadn't realized how close Prince Zane and Princess Jin had become. Shirley quickly rushed over and took the little princess in her arms, saying that taking care of the princess was a servant's job. But Loki stared at the little princess with a dark expression. Icarus was right. At such a young age, she can already make the prince of the entire empire wipe her mouth. What will she be like when she grows up? This child must die. Just then, the emperor appeared. "Eating so happily. You must think you did a good job today." The emperor's cold tone made everyone stop eating immediately. He ignored their stares and used his magic to examine Prince Zane's body, finding that he was indeed getting stronger every day. Though he was shocked, he still questioned him. "Since your health is improving, why hasn't your running speed increased?" He then glanced at the little princess who was still gnawing on her chicken leg. "Anya Jin, you fulfilled your end of our 1-month agreement. Zane is indeed healthier. What do you want as a reward?" Loki was displeased. She hadn't done anything for the past month, but Prince Zane's health had really improved. She was getting all the credit. The little princess's eyes lit up. She forgot all about her chicken leg and asked the emperor, "Can I really have anything?" Seeing her expectant look, Loki was even more annoyed. Such a cunning little girl. She's probably going to ask for a mountain of gold. But to everyone's surprise, all she asked for was for Prince Zane to be allowed to eat 1 apple a day. Loki was stunned. This wasn't right. The girl didn't want money or power. The emperor was intrigued and asked her to explain. The little princess was coy. "Aren't you curious what I did to Prince Zane this past month, father? The truth is, I didn't do anything." Loki's hostility toward her lessened slightly. It seems this girl isn't as bad as Icarus said. At least she's honest. But the next second, the little princess grinned mischievously. "Actually, when Grandpa Loki wasn't looking, I secretly added a little apple juice to the dragon's blood." Loki was shocked. "You gave Prince Zane that low-class fruit juice behind my back. This girl is so devious. She really does deserve to die." The little princess quickly explained. "I remember Grandpa Loki said Prince Zane was too weak to eat apples directly, so I gave him diluted apple juice, and he was completely fine." Loki snorted. "You're lucky the prince didn't have a reaction, or 100 deaths wouldn't be enough to atone for what you did." But inwardly, he began to question his own medical skills. He had never even considered that fruit juice could be medicinal. He had been a renowned physician for so many years for nothing. Just then, the little princess took his hand. "Grandpa Loki, don't be angry. I just want to help Prince Zane get better. You said that what a familiar eats can be transferred to its master. Since the prince can't eat apples directly, could we have the little rabbit eat an apple every day and transfer the nutrients to him? You're the most amazing person I know, Grandpa Loki. Can you help Prince Zane? I want him to get well soon." Loki was deeply moved. This girl genuinely wants to help Prince Zane. Icarus must have been lying to me. How could a girl as kind and lovely as Princess Jin be a bad person? Her words also moved Prince Zane. "Princess Jin is only thinking about my health. She's so good to me." Celeste saw the prince staring at Princess Jin, his face flushed, and felt a pang of envy. They had such a good relationship. Just then, the jerk emperor spoke. "Zane, since your health has improved, you will run an extra 10 laps every morning." Celeste's envy vanished, replaced by pity. The little princess felt a little awkward. Had she indirectly gotten Prince Zane into trouble? But the next second, the emperor's cold voice rang out again. "Celeste, you've made no progress these past few days. You will run an extra 5 laps every day. And Anya Jin, you have no ladylike composure eating so many chicken legs in one meal. As punishment, you will kill 100 chickens for the kitchen every day." The little princesses were on the verge of tears. Why were they being punished too? Before he left, the emperor reminded the prince and princess not to forget to come to his room to sleep that night. This terrified them. They hadn't thought he was serious. Sleeping with that big, cold, jerk emperor for 2 weeks? Just the thought of it was terrifying. That night, the little princess had followed the prince to their father's chambers. Seeing how nervous he was, she couldn't help but ask, "Is it really that scary to sleep with father?" The prince's face was filled with lingering fear. It turned out that as a baby, Zane had slept with the emperor, only to be kicked out the window in the middle of the night. If Sirius hadn't found and saved him, there would be no prince today. After that, he was repeatedly kicked or thrown out in the middle of the night. Once he was almost crushed to death by the emperor. It was all thanks to Sirius that he was still alive. Eventually, the Grand Mage couldn't stand it anymore and took him in, only returning him to the palace when he was 3 and had to start learning magic. That was when he finally got his own room and his life returned to normal. The little princess listened, horrified, marveling that the little prince had survived to this age. But then she thought, for the first 2 years she was in the palace, Grandpa Rhoda must have been teaching her to read during the day, and then taking care of Zane for the jerk emperor at night for free. He must have been exhausted. Seeing the little princess frozen in place, Zane thought she was scared by his story, and bravely puffed out his chest. "Don't worry, Princess Jin. If father tries to kick you in the middle of the night, I'll protect you." The little princess beamed. Having a brother really was different. And so the two of them lay down beside the jerk emperor, ready to face their fate. The little princess peeked at the emperor and saw that he didn't seem as terrifying as Zane had described. In fact, he was much more handsome when he was asleep than when he was being his usual cold self. But the next second, the emperor's eyes snapped open and he glared at her. "Anya Jin, go to sleep, or you'll be killing 200 chickens in the kitchen tomorrow." The little princess quickly closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep, even muttering a few words in her sleep. "Father, what are you saying? I'm already asleep, I can't hear you." And with that, she actually fell asleep. The jerk emperor was speechless. Later that night, he was once again pulled into a nightmare. He was back with Cheryl, and he had so many questions for her but didn't know how to ask. Cheryl, seeing him hesitate, teased him, asking if he had fallen in love with her. He, true to his nature, called her a psycho. Cheryl, angry, pulled out a knife to kill him but failed again. Every time she failed, she would give him a mischievous smile and note the number of her attempt. Including this one, it was her 1,897th failed assassination. And he would, as always, blush and call her a psycho. But whenever he felt affection, his curse would activate. His hands would uncontrollably strangle the closest female until she was dead, and only then would the curse stop, even in his dreams. What he didn't know was that while his curse was active in his dreams, his body would also uncontrollably harm those around him. The little princess was the unlucky victim. She was trapped in the air by the jerk emperor's magic, crying out for him to wake up, but to no avail. Even with her ability to absorb magic, the emperor was releasing too much for her to handle. The little rabbit had never seen such a scene and fainted on the spot. But the puppy, sensing its master was in danger, went into a rage. It leaped onto the jerk emperor's face and bit down on his face, frantically absorbing the magic emanating from him. The puppy's body swelled at an alarming rate, and the little princess was saved. But the puppy didn't stop, continuing to absorb the emperor's magic. A bedpost, unable to support their combined weight, snapped. The tilting bed finally woke the little prince up. He was confused, thinking he was still dreaming. But as the puppy continued to swell, the bed finally gave way and collapsed, breaking the emperor's magical output. The puppy, like a deflating balloon, went flying. Hearing the crash, Sirius burst into the room and was stunned by the bizarre scene. The emperor was sitting on the floor staring at his hands in a daze, while a bear-like creature was flying through the air. The little princess was worriedly watching her puppy, and the little prince was still confused, wondering why the bed had collapsed. Sirius rushed over. "Your Majesty, are you injured?" The emperor, coming to his senses, touched his wound. Bite marks looked like they were from that little dog. Just then, the deflated puppy landed in Sirius's arms. Sirius held it up. What happened? Why is Princess Jin's familiar leaking air? The emperor didn't explain, just told him to take the two children back to their own rooms. Zane, now fully awake, noticed the little princess was covered in bruises. Hearing this, the emperor guessed he must have been the one to hurt her, and his heart clenched with pain. The little princess quickly waved her hands. "It was probably my puppy. It must have gone crazy and hit me." My poor national treasure, she thought. Not only does it have to protect its master, but it also has to take the blame. Just then, the jerk emperor turned and walked toward the door. "I'm going for a walk. No one is to follow me." The little princess, seeing that he didn't seem to remember what had happened, debated whether to tell him, but by then, he was already gone. The emperor walked alone in the rain, so lost in thought that he didn't even put up a magical shield. He wandered aimlessly until he found himself at the Grand Mage's chambers. The Grand Mage, still asleep, was woken by the sound of dripping water. When he saw it was the emperor, he was relieved. "I thought someone was after my virtue. Is something wrong at this hour?" But then he saw that the emperor was soaked to the bone. Forgetting he could use magic, he instinctively raised a hand to wipe the water from his face. But the emperor just said flatly, "It's fine. It helps me clear my head." The Grand Mage sighed but continued to fuss over him. In his eyes, the emperor was still a child who hadn't grown up. The embarrassed emperor turned his head and explained that he wanted the Grand Mage to show him a replay of what had happened in his chambers an hour ago. Seeing the emperor's pained expression, the Grand Mage grew worried. What could have happened to make his majesty so upset? I haven't seen him like this in a long time. To get to the bottom of it, the Grand Mage summoned his familiar, and a cute little fox appeared. But the next second, it started yelling at him. "I was sleeping. What do you want?" The Grand Mage, instead of getting angry, just smiled apologetically. "System, I need your help to see what happened in His Majesty's chambers an hour ago." The little fox crossed its arms and legs, looking like a true boss. Seeing it was an easy task, the fox agreed, but warned the Grand Mage not to wake it up in the middle of the night again. The Grand Mage was helpless but couldn't do anything about it. The Emperor thought to himself, Rhoda's familiar is probably the only one in the world with such a temper. It's completely out of its master's control and has to be coaxed every time. The little fox got right to work, casting a time reversal spell. They saw the Emperor strangling the little princess in his sleep and the little panda biting him to save her. Seeing the truth with his own eyes, the Emperor clenched his fists. The curse has returned! I almost killed Anya Jin! Just like I killed the maid who raised me, the female teacher I respected, and Cheryl. I killed her. Seeing the Emperor's grief, the little fox commented, It's been so many years and you still haven't gotten rid of this old problem? But I have to say Cheryl's sacrifice was effective. You shouldn't have had a relapse so soon. Unless you've been a bad boy, Kaiser, and developed feelings for a female too early. You know, the curse your mother put on you makes you kill any female you have feelings for, whether it's a teacher, a servant, family, or a friend. Hearing this, the Emperor's mind flashed back to when Anya Jin was 1 year old. Perhaps he had started to care for that child a long time ago, which was why the curse had returned early. Just then, the little fox switched to the scene of the little panda biting him and told the Emperor not to be too upset. This panda can absorb the curse's magic. From now on, whenever you have an attack, just let it bite you. The Emperor was intrigued. Are you saying this puppy can absorb the curse's magic from my body? The little fox nodded proudly. That's my guess, but it needs more testing. But then it remembered something and its fur stood on end. And I'm telling you, it's not a dog, it's a panda. This confused the two of them. So a panda is a cat, not a dog? This nearly made the little fox explode. Panda is a bear! Super powerful bear! You foolish humans! The two of them nodded, still not quite getting it. So a panda was a bear. The next morning, after her run, the little princess was taken to the chicken coop by Sirius. He told her that her training for the day was to first kill chickens, then go kill scarecrows. The moment the door opened, the little princess was captivated by the flock of chirping chicks. But the next second, Sirius handed her a large cleaver and told her that today she would practice on 101-day-old chicks. And tomorrow it would be adult chickens. Holding the cleaver, the little princess was on the verge of tears. The fluffy little chicks were too cute. She couldn't bring herself to do it. Sirius had actually spoken to the Emperor about this before, asking if it was too cruel to make such a cute child kill chickens. But the Emperor was unmoved. Several countries have been making moves lately. You may see her as a child, but her enemies won't. If she can't even kill a chicken, how will she kill her enemies? I can't protect her forever. With that in mind, Sirius hardened his heart and used his magic to make the cute little chicks go berserk, all flying at the little princess. The clueless princess could only stand there and take the pecking, unable to fight back. Seeing its master being attacked, the little panda immediately jumped in. With a single punch, it sent the chicks scattering. Many of them were instantly incinerated by its fire fist, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the air, making the little princess's mouth water. The panda really is a national treasure. It's so amazing, she praised. The panda, spurred on by her words, fought even harder, unleashing a barrage of attacks on the chicks. Sensing danger, Sirius quickly shielded the little princess. The next second, the chicken coop exploded. The terrifying scene made Sirius's scalp tingle. How powerful is Princess Jin's familiar? This puppy is still just a cub, and a single punch can cause so much destruction. In Sirius's arms, the little princess was mourning the 100 chicks. My roasted chicken, now it's all burnt. Meanwhile, the prince, who was being chased by an army of scarecrows, also saw the burning coop. The thought of the little princess still inside made him rush toward the fire to save her. But Celeste stopped him. The princess has a guard with her. She should be fine, she said. Besides, I don't think you can even beat her in a fight. She probably doesn't need you to save her. The little prince froze. Why does that make so much sense, but still hurt so much to hear? It's all my fault I'm so useless, he said dejectedly. Princess Jin is in danger, and I can't do anything to help. I'm just a burden. But while they were talking, the army of scarecrows had surrounded them. Just as they were at a loss, the little princess, who had come looking for them, saw them. Without a second thought, she charged in, her fists ready to save her friends. The little panda, radiating fire, rushed into the scarecrow army, and the next second, a sea of flames engulfed them. Sirius was horrified. The fire was getting bigger, and Prince Zane and Celeste were still inside. Just then, the Jerk Emperor's dragon descended from the sky. It spat out a mouthful of vintage 82 water, instantly extinguishing the blazing scarecrow army. The little princess clapped. Father is so amazing. It's a waste for you not to be a firefighter. But the next second, the Jerk Emperor snatched her up, laughing so happily. You think you're so powerful, so proud of your abilities? The little princess pouted. She had just wanted to help Prince Zane and Celeste defeat the scarecrows. But the Jerk Emperor wasn't having it. But you know your control is weak, that your magic often goes out of control, yet you still used it so recklessly? If I hadn't been here today, Zane and Celeste might have been burned to death by your fire. Do you understand your mistake? Sirius knew His Majesty was truly angry this time. The Emperor had loved Empress Cheryl so much, and she had sacrificed herself to suppress his curse, leaving him with only Prince Zane. If anything happened to the prince, His Majesty would probably go on a rampage. He quickly stepped in to defend the little princess. Princess Jin is still young. It's normal for her not to be able to control the strength of her magic. But the little princess cut him off. She didn't think she had done anything wrong and didn't need anyone to make excuses for her. Her words surprised the Emperor. He put her down and asked why she didn't think she was wrong. Prince Zane is actually very smart and powerful, she argued. Even if my magic went out of control, I believe he could have protected himself and Princess Celeste. The Emperor was stunned. Zane is powerful? How come I, his father, don't know this? Sirius was also in disbelief. Prince Zane was so frail it was a miracle he had even survived this long. And Princess Jin was calling him powerful? Just as the little princess was about to say more, they heard a cough from the smoke. They turned to see the little prince standing there, a barrier surrounding him and Celeste, protecting them. The Emperor and Sirius were shocked. Prince Zane was only 4, and he could already create a barrier? That was something even adult mages couldn't always do. Seeing they were safe, the little princess happily ran to them. I knew Prince Zane was super powerful. The prince's heart soared. Princess Jin, you just said you believed in me and that I'm very powerful? Hearing her confirm it, the little prince blushed, but still said with a hint of self-doubt, everyone says I'm weak, that I can't even kill an ant, that I'm not fit to be the crown prince, and that the Ethel Empire will be ruined in my hands. That's not true, the little princess said, grabbing his arm. Prince Zane isn't weak at all. You're just sick. You'll be fine once you're completely cured. And not killing ants isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of kindness. I think it's a blessing for the whole country to have a kind person as emperor, and Prince Zane is the strongest person I've ever met. I only sneak out to practice for 2 hours every night, but I know you secretly practice for even longer. In my eyes, you're the best crown prince. Her words reignited the light of confidence in Prince Zane's eyes. Celeste, who had been a little jealous of how close Zane and Anya Jin were, suddenly wasn't anymore. No one knew how hard Zane was working in secret. Princess Jin was the only one who truly cared about him. Sirius was surprised. The training plan he had designed for them was only 2 hours long. He hadn't known Zane was secretly training on his own. The boy looked frail, but he was strong on the inside. Seeing the happy scene, the jerk emperor, who had been ignored, snorted and was about to leave. Just then, the little princess let out a gasp. They turned to see Prince Zane's familiar glowing with a blue light. In a moment, it had grown larger and even cuter. Everyone was amazed, even the little princess. But the little panda was not happy. It leaped from the little princess's head and landed in front of the rabbit. Seeing that the rabbit was now bigger than it was, the little panda was furious. You dare to be taller than me, a national treasure? I'll beat you so hard you won't know which way is up. With a roar, it lunged at the rabbit. But before it could even touch it, the rabbit fainted from fear. The little princess quickly grabbed the little panda. Puppy, be nice! The bunny is so cute. Why are you being mean to it? The little panda flailed in her hands, squeaking, as if to say, why does that weak rabbit get to level up, but I don't? Is it because you're too pathetic? The little princess was baffled. I don't understand what it's saying, but I have a feeling it's insulting me. The jerk emperor was also in disbelief. Zane was only 4, and he had already trained his familiar to this level. He knew nothing about his own son. He quickly walked over. Zane, a newly leveled up familiar is still weak. Let me help you stabilize it. But the next second, his curse acted up at the worst possible time. He remembered what the little fox had said. When the curse acts up, let the puppy bite you. He clenched his fist, trying to stop himself from hurting anyone, and ordered Sirius to take Celeste and Zane away. Sirius knew His Majesty's curse had returned. Though he was confused why he wasn't taking Princess Jin with them, he couldn't disobey a direct order. He left with the prince and Celeste, leaving a clueless little princess behind. Once they were gone, the jerk emperor yelled at her, Anya Jin, have your cat bite me! The little princess was stunned. He wants the puppy to bite him for no reason? Is he crazy? But the little panda waved its arms in protest. I'm a national treasure, not a cat! But then its eyes narrowed. I've never heard such a ridiculous request in my life. Fine, I'll grant your wish. It leaped onto the emperor's face and bit down. The little princess was horrified. The puppy bit the emperor again. Last time he was unconscious, but this time he's wide awake. We're so dead. But the next second, she saw the little panda frantically absorbing the curse's power from the emperor, and its body began to swell until it was as big as him. The little princess didn't know what to think. She knew it was absorbing the curse, but the scene was just weird. But surprisingly, as it absorbed the curse, the little panda also leveled up, entering its adolescent stage. The little princess was overjoyed, spinning around with the panda in her arms and asking the emperor if her puppy had leveled up too. The jerk emperor patted her head and said seriously, It's not a puppy, it's a panda. The little princess pretended not to know what a panda was. She had looked it up in books before, There was no such creature in this world. Why would the emperor suddenly call it a panda? As she was wondering, she heard him confidently explain, "A panda is actually a very magical kind of cat." The little princess was speechless, but her suspicions were put to rest. It seemed the jerk emperor didn't know what a real panda was either. The emperor watched the carefree little princess spinning with her puppy and fell into thought. This panda can not only absorb my curse's magic, but also use it to level up quickly. It's truly remarkable. I need to redesign Anya Jin's training. At night, the emperor was staring out the window, trying to figure out how to intensify Anya Jin's training. He was about to teleport the Grand Mage over to talk, but then thought better of it and decided to go himself. He arrived at the Grand Mage's room and just stood there staring at the sleeping man. The Grand Mage, sensing something, woke up with a start. "My dear Your Majesty, what are you doing here?" The emperor, with no sense of shame, said he was upset and wanted to talk. As the Grand Mage looked on helplessly, he began to praise himself. "I think I've been a very successful emperor. I ascended the throne at 17 and turned a broken colonial nation into the second most powerful empire in the world. I think I'm amazing." The Grand Mage was speechless. What's wrong with this kid? He woke me up in the middle of the night just to have me praise him? But he still said, "Your Majesty is truly amazing." Just then the emperor's expression grew somber. "But I think I've been a terrible father." The Grand Mage was surprised. When did His Majesty become so self-aware? He really has been a neglectful father. But what happened to make the usually arrogant emperor realize this? The emperor told him that Zane's magic had surged that day. He had not only learned to create a barrier, but had also leveled up his familiar from an infant to a child. The Grand Mage was both shocked and delighted. "Really? When did Prince Zane become so powerful?" The jerk emperor smiled proudly. "We all thought the boy was too weak, but there was one child who always believed he was powerful. She encouraged him, accompanied him, and saw his potential, all without us knowing. And I, his father, knew nothing about it." The Grand Mage knew he was talking about Princess Jin. The emperor nodded. "Seeing her encourage Zane today, I suddenly realized that although I've provided for him and given him the best education, I've never once encouraged him. If he did something wrong, I would punish him severely, believing that even the Son of Heaven should be subject to the law. In all these years, I have never encouraged or praised him, no matter if he was crying, upset, or hurt. I have been a terrible father." The emperor's heartfelt words moved the Grand Mage to tears. "My dear Your Majesty, you've really grown up." But the next second, the moment was ruined. The jerk emperor wanted to share his bed. The Grand Mage was exasperated. "He's almost 30. Why is he still acting like a child? And I just praised him for growing up." With the Grand Mage's company, the emperor quickly fell asleep. But in the middle of the night, he was once again pulled into a nightmare. He was back in his childhood, watching his mother smash things in a rage. He tried to tell her a joke, but she threw a vase at his head, making him bleed and told him to get lost. But even then, he forced a smile and begged for her love. "If hitting me makes you happy, I'm willing to be punished by you every day. Please don't cry, mother, I want to see you smile." Waking from the dream, the emperor instinctively turned to the snoring Grand Mage beside him. A small smile touched his lips, and he gently tucked him in. "At least for now, you're still by my side." The 3-year-old little princess's familiar had leveled up prematurely, and her body couldn't handle the immense magical energy. She knelt on the ground, clutching her stomach and trembling. And the next second, she coughed up a mouthful of blood. The little princess stared at the blood in her hand, confused. "Just a familiar leveling up can make me cough up blood? Am I going to die?" Seeing this, Shirley burst into tears. General John, who was helping to stabilize the princess's magic, was also at a loss. "How can this be? I thought I had it under control. Could it have relapsed?" Just then, Loki arrived. As a physician, he could tell at a glance that the little princess had been poisoned. General John was confused. Who in the palace would dare to poison a princess? Loki ignored him and walked over to the little princess, handing her a bottle of potion. The little princess took it and drank it down in one gulp. Shirley watched anxiously. "Princess, how are you? Are you feeling better?" After drinking the potion, the little princess was suddenly fine. "My dear Shirley, don't cry, I'm much better now." Loki was surprised. The princess should be in excruciating pain right now, but she was smiling as if nothing was wrong. The little princess wiped away Shirley's tears and comforted her. "Don't cry. You're not as pretty when you cry. Sirius might not want you anymore." Loki finally understood. A child like this couldn't possibly be a bad person. The reason she was so loved wasn't because she was manipulative or a spy, but because she was kind, smart, and like a little sun that could warm anyone's heart. Who wouldn't like a child like that? I was deceived. But in the end, the pain was too much, and the little princess fainted in Shirley's arms. Loki told Shirley not to worry, that the potion had induced a coma, and that after a night's sleep, most of the poison in her body would be gone. "What about the rest?" John asked. "The poison has seeped into her bones," Loki told him. "I can't do anything about the rest. She'll have to rely on herself. And this poison specifically targets familiars. Every time her familiar levels up, it will probably be a painful experience." With that, Loki turned to leave, saying he had to go prepare an antidote. But in reality, he was going to find Icarus and demand to know if he was the one who had poisoned her. Icarus was surprised. "The poison I used is very subtle. How did you know?" Loki was furious. "Princess Jin is having a reaction. How could I not know? She's only 3 and you used that kind of poison on her. Are you trying to kill her?" Icarus was unconcerned. "It's not my fault. Who would have thought she'd start leveling up her familiar at 3? I intended for the poison to activate in 5 or 6 years." Though he acted nonchalant, he was secretly hoping the little princess wouldn't survive this. He himself was a genius, summoning his familiar at 14 and only having it level up for the first time at 18. A prodigy like Anya Jin could not be allowed to remain in the Ethel Empire. Seeing Icarus admit it, Loki pressed him further. "The Emperor's curse has been acting up lately. Was that your doing as well?" Icarus laughed. "You found out? Of course it was my masterpiece. It's just a shame that Kaiser's curse has acted up twice and he hasn't killed a single person. What a disappointment." Feeling used, Loki flew into a rage and threw a handful of medicinal powder at Icarus. But Icarus had already set up a barrier. He looked at Loki with a sneer. "Are you so eager to silence me, sir? But I have you to thank for helping me concoct those poisons. So you're also responsible for harming the little princess." With that, he pulled out a knife and stabbed Loki in the stomach. "Since you found out, I can't let you see another sunrise." But this scene was witnessed by Celeste, who happened to be passing by. She let out a scream of terror. "Run!" Loki yelled with all his might. Celeste, realizing she was no match for Icarus, ran toward the prince's palace to get help. Icarus, in a bloodthirsty frenzy, was thrilled by her appearance. "Isn't this the most useless little princess of the Ethel Empire? You'd better run a little faster, or I'm going to catch you." Loki, fearing for Celeste's safety, dragged his injured body to attack Icarus. Though he managed to injure him, it only delayed him for a few seconds. Icarus pushed him aside and chased after Celeste. "Useless little princess, I'm coming for you." Loki dragged himself to the little princess's chambers. Sirius rushed to support him. "What happened to you? Who did this?" Loki staggered toward the little princess. "It doesn't matter who did it. If I hadn't been so suspicious of this child, none of this would have happened." He took a list from his pocket and placed it on her bed. "This is an antidote recipe I wrote for Princess Jin. You can try it, but it might not be completely effective. It's the last thing I can do for her. But the unicorn horn on the list is almost impossible to find." With that, he collapsed. In Sirius's arms, Loki looked back on his life. In his youth, he had been arrogant and had made many enemies. If it weren't for the Emperor's favor, he would have been killed long ago. But in the end, he had betrayed the Emperor's trust. And Princess Jin? I'm sorry, little girl. With his dying breath, he tried to tell Sirius to save Celeste. But he passed away before he could finish. Sirius immediately picked up Loki and ran to find the Emperor, telling Shirley to take care of the little princess. Just as Sirius left, the little princess woke up. Seeing the tear tracks on Shirley's face, she was confused. "Shirley, why are you crying?" She then touched her own cheek. "Why do I suddenly feel a little sad?" While Icarus was enjoying his game of cat and mouse, the rabbit in the prince's palace seemed to sense Celeste was in danger. It leaped off the bed and ran toward the garden. The prince, confused, followed close behind, calling for the patrolling guards to help him catch the rabbit. Celeste heard the prince's voice and shouted for him. This startled Icarus. He couldn't be discovered. His face darkened and he summoned a large snake to coil around her, silencing her. He then hid her, planning to take her to the Cadian Empire as a gift to Emperor Caspian. He was sure he would be rewarded with a position. As he was daydreaming, he didn't notice the rabbit had found him. It leaped onto his face and started scratching, making him scream in pain. This drew the prince's attention. When he saw it was Professor Icarus, he quickly shouted, "Honey, get down!" The rabbit stopped and looked at the prince with a conflicted expression. Icarus took the opportunity to pull the rabbit off his face and put on a pitiful act. "Prince Zane, you jest. I am no longer your teacher. This rabbit must not like me. It bites me every time it sees me." Prince Zane, thinking Icarus was still upset about being publicly humiliated in class and losing his job, apologized guiltily. Seeing his plan was working, Icarus put on a fawning expression. "It's no problem at all. As long as the prince is happy, your rabbit can bite me all at once." Seeing that Icarus was still able to joke, the prince thought everything was fine and was about to leave. But as he turned, he felt something was wrong. He cautiously asked Icarus, "Have you seen Princess Celeste?" Icarus's heart skipped a beat. Did this little brat figure something out? But then he thought, he's only 4, he can't be that smart, I must be overthinking it. He calmly replied that Celeste should be asleep in her room and that he hadn't seen her. But the moment he said that, the prince ordered the guards to seize him. Icarus panicked but still tried to bluff his way out. "What are you doing?" But behind his back, he was already gathering his magic. The prince had seen Celeste's fan on the ground near Icarus's feet. It was a gift from her father for her 2nd birthday, and she was never without it. But now it was here, and Icarus was denying he had seen her. It was obvious he had taken her. Icarus never would have imagined that the usually weak little prince could be so assertive. He had been outsmarted. Seeing his plan had failed, he pulled out a vial of poison and threw it at the prince. A guard immediately jumped in front of him, sacrificing his own life. Seeing his attack had failed, Icarus muttered, "Useless fools, you deserve to die," and fled. Meanwhile, in the dungeons of the Cadian Empire, Emperor Caspian was helping Kalen Ming steal a familiar. He used the last of his magic to complete the ritual. Exhausted, he turned to leave, telling Kalen Ming to rest and that in 3 days, he would begin his special training to ensure he could kill Anya Jin and the others in the ultimate mage exam. The Grand Mage was secretly envious. His Majesty really dotes on the 17th Prince. This amazing familiar was originally meant for His Majesty, but by a strange twist of fate, it has been given to him. It turned out to be the 5-pointed divine wood from the Eastern world, a legendary item that had shocked the world when it first appeared 30 years ago. He hoped the 17th Prince could live up to its legacy. After they left, Kalen Ming went to the dying white-haired old man and helped him up. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal your familiar. I didn't expect it to be a dragon." The old man was shocked. "You just called it a dragon?" It turned out he was also a transmigrator, and this dragon was his special ability. But before he could do anything with it, he had been imprisoned by Caspian for 36 years. He grabbed Kalen Ming's hand and said seriously, "In this world, you must call it the Great God." Just as Kalen Ming was about to ask why, a teleportation circle appeared. He recognized it as Icarus's. Did something happen in the Ethel Empire? He told the old man to wait, that he would be right back, and stepped into the circle. It was indeed Icarus who had summoned him. It turned out that months ago, when Kalen Ming had first met Anya Jin in the palace toilet, she had removed the Emperor's tracking claw from him, as he was trying to figure out how to escape. Icarus had appeared and revealed that he was a spy for the Cadian Empire. To prove it, he had shown him the ruby Caspian had given him, and used his family's unique teleportation circle to send him back. This time, he had summoned Kalen Ming to take him to the Cadian Empire. He presented Celeste. "This is Princess Celeste of the Ethel Empire, a token of my loyalty. I no longer want to be a spy, I want a position in the Cadian Empire." Kalen Ming thought, "Icarus knows I've been to the Ethel Empire and probably knows I have magic. I can't let him work in the Cadian Empire." He told Icarus, "My father doesn't care about some Princess Celeste, but he has always despised Princess Jin. If you can capture her, I'm sure my father will be very impressed." Icarus laughed. "I didn't expect the 17th Prince to be so ruthless. I thought you would be reluctant to let her die after she saved you in the toilet." Only then did Kalen Ming realize that the girl who had saved him was Princess Jin. Icarus smiled wickedly. "Don't worry, 17th Prince. Princess Jin may be powerful, but I have already poisoned her. At her current rate of cultivation, she won't live to be 10, so you don't have to worry about that dead girl." But as he was gloating, his name was added to Kalen Ming's kill list. "You really are something. But I still want to see Princess Jin's condition for myself, to confirm what you've said. If it's true, I'll put in a good word for you with my father." Icarus immediately agreed. A short time later, he brought Kalen Ming to the outside of the little princess's chambers. He told him that today was the first time her poison had acted up, and that she must have been in excruciating pain just a short while ago. Kalen Ming looked at the sleeping little princess, his heart aching for her. She was so young to have to endure such pain. Just then, lightning flashed and it began to rain. Icarus urged him, "You've seen enough, it's time to go." But Kalen Ming's murderous intent toward Icarus only grew. "Just a quick look, and she seems fine to me. And since Kaiser doesn't care about this little princess anyway, why don't you go kill her right now?